Okay, let us make a beginning. A very warm good morning to all participants, all esteemed panel speakers and organizers. I can see we have 435 plus attendees already. I have been given the task of giving a welcome and also set the objective of this virtual conference today. I will first introduce myself. I am Asitav Sen. I am the CEO of CropLife India. So our focus today for the conference is on a very specialized subject of drone application for spraying of agrochemical. As you know, drones can be used for various purposes in various industries. Even in agriculture, drones can be used for various other objectives such as crop monitoring and other things. But today we are specifically talking about drone usage for spraying of agrochemical products. The Honorable Prime Minister has first been emphasized on use of modern technology and modernizing agriculture through use of modern technologies, which will also help in achieving the goal of doubling farmer income. Drones can be one such area which, if deployed in a large scale for spraying and other applications, can play an important role there. There are several advantages as well as some risks for any new technology, and this is not an exception. We are releasing a technical discussion paper today, which covers all the opportunities and risks in a comprehensive manner, and also talks about global best practices on how other countries have mitigated some of those risks in a pragmatic manner. We will be sharing the copy of the technical paper after it is released. Just to summarize, although other speakers are going to talk about it, the key benefits of drone usage are precision application of agrochemical products, reducing the risk of operators significantly, a much higher field capacity and efficiency, up to 20 to 30 times from conventional spraying, lower water consumption, development of skills through certified trained operators who are going to operate these devices. And in certain special field conditions and crop growth stages, drones will be much more efficient in application of agrochemical products. And also there is a labor shortage issue, not just in India, but across the world, in other Asian countries and other parts of the world. So mechanization through drones and other mechanization devices can address the issue of labor shortage as well. And some of the risks that are involved in this particular technology are flight risks, risks to operators and bystanders, risks to the crop itself as well as the environment. And again, as I said, we are going to comprehensively cover how these risks are mitigated in some of the other countries as well as in India. Drones application for agrochemical is more of an Asian phenomena. Asian countries are leading this. Countries like Japan, Korea, China, Malaysia, they are at various stages of development. Some like Japan have 30 plus years of experience for drone usage for agrochemical, with millions of hectares of cropland being already sprayed through drones. We have a few global speakers today with us who are going to talk about these global experiences, and I think these experiences are useful for India as well when we are kind of starting off. As we all know, India has its own experience with drone usage, particularly in recent times for control of locust. A great collaboration between Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Civil Aviation, and CIBRC, the Central Insecticide Board and Registration Committee, which is the regulator for product registration. Their collaboration has made this possible in a very timely manner. And also broad specifications have been used for drones that can fly in the night, and making India one of the first countries to do so. So we should be proud about that. And there'll be a lot of learning coming out of that. And there is an opportunity to extend this to other crops as well and other pests as well, not just locusts. And even there, some beginning has been made through the ICAR, Indian Council of Agriculture Research Expert Committee, headed by Dr. Alagasundaram, who is going to be here with us today, who have recommended something called Krishi drones, which is a more, I would say, relaxed guideline for use of drones for agriculture and agrochemical spraying purposes. We'll hear about that as well. And today's conference, the primary objective is that it's a starting point, it's a stepping stone towards the direction of bringing all stakeholders together to form some kind of a pragmatic, practical, and science-based approach towards drone application for agrochemical spraying. We should neither over-regulate nor under-regulate. A balanced approach is what is recommended, and to take us to that destination, we have all the relevant stakeholders today with us. We have Ministry of Civil Aviation, we have DGCA, we have Ministry of Agriculture, Indian Council of Agriculture Research. We even have Punjab Agriculture University, which are representing the agriculture science and academia sector. CIBRC, as I said, as the regulatory body, agrochemical product companies, drone manufacturers, drone operators and service providers, civil society, and we also have, we are very happy to have FAO as an international agency representing us to share their point of view. Special thanks to our esteemed speakers, particularly Mr. Ambar Dubey, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Civil Aviation, Mrs. Shomita Biswas, Joint Secretary, Mechanization, Ministry of Agriculture, Dr. S.K. Malhotra, Agriculture Commissioner and Chairman of Registration Committee, Dr. J.P. Singh, Secretary, CIBRC, Dr. Alada Sundaram, Deputy Director General, Agricultural Engineering of ICAR, and also Kit Crossman, who's the Senior Locust Forecasting Officer from FAO, who are all there with us, and many other speakers from the private sector and civil society. I'm not taking everybody's name. So just a little bit about the organizers. So CropLife India is an association of 15 research and science-based agrochemical companies, both Indian and multinational, covering about 70% of the Indian market and responsible for almost 95% of the new molecules that are introduced in the country so far. Our companies spend about $6 billion globally on research and development, so there is a big focus on research and development. And we bring a lot of experience from agrochemical usage and application methods globally on the table. We also have FICCI with us. All of you know FICCI, one of the top national industry chambers. And particularly FICCI's drone committee is one of the first national industry chambers to have such a dedicated committee for drones, with the drone manufacturers, operators, users, all being their members. So we thought of partnering with FICCI's drone committee for this initiative, and as you will see, the partnership has already brought rich dividend in terms of organizing this conference today. I believe we have over 500 delegates who are with us today, not just from India, but also from rest of Asia and rest of the world. Warm welcome to all of them for spending their valuable time with us. And we hope that today's discussion is just a starting point, as I said, and going forward, these discussions will ferret out some of the genuine concerns and prepare comprehensive guidelines, best practices, and standard operating procedures through collaboration of various stakeholders, as I said, Ministry of Agriculture, CIBRC, Ministry of Civil Aviation, Ministry of Home Affairs, and the industry, so that we can help our farmers and help support farm efficiency, productivity, as well as sustainability. I will now hand it over to Sumit Gupta, Assistant Secretary General of FICCI, who's going to be the moderator of the first session. If somebody can put the agenda on the screen, I can just quickly go through what we are going to discuss today and then hand it over to Sumit. Can somebody put the agenda on the screen, please? Sumit?
Yeah, thanks, Asitava. I think while the technical person is putting up the agenda, thank you for setting up the context. And I think briefly you have already given the overview of the program that we intend to do. I request my colleague from IT to put up the agenda for the benefit of the audience. Yeah. So one can.
Go ahead, Sumit, if you want to.
Yeah. So so one can scroll and have a look at the agenda. While anyways, we would be inviting all the speakers and talking about what we intend to do. So going forward, I think first of all, thanks Asitava. Thanks for setting the context. And this is a joint program which FICCI and CropLife is organizing. So I welcome you once again for this important webinar. And taking my time, I straight away go to the next speaker, and I invite Dr. Baer, who is the head of regulatory affairs, production operations from Sciences Asia. Dr. Ropke is going to be setting up the context and guidelines with respect to the regulatory framework for use of drones for application of CPPs, crop protection products, and he will be giving certain use cases from the global perspective as well as the Asian perspective. So, so I request Dr. Ropke to kindly join us and share your vision with us. And thank you so much, Dr. Ropke, for joining us all the way from Singapore. Dr. Ropke, over to you.
Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm very honored to be able to speak today on this first virtual conference. I would have much preferred to be in India face to face and have the opportunity for a great Indian lunch, which I relish a lot, but we will have to make do without that. Let me pull up my content to share that with you. Just a few words to myself. I'm in the crop protection sphere for almost 20 years now. Speaking to you today on behalf of CropLife Asia. Within CropLife Asia, I've been driving the development of drone regulations together with the team of CropLife companies, working specifically in Asia, which is my home and my base, as development is rapidly within this continent, this part of the world, whereas we lead the way for others to follow in the other geographies. Hence, let me get started. I take that you can see my presentation in presentation mode. Can I get short feedback?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. I will go through and would also be happy to take any questions anytime. So let's just dive right into this very fascinating technology. I think all of us have the task that we have a growing population and we have difficulties with food supply, food scarcity. We have reduced land and we have to manage, especially here in Southeast Asia and in Asia, to ramp up efficacy in our production systems. We have had a few harvest losses. I think India is very prominent currently with the locust infestation, which we are suffering through, that even good intentions by farmers, good planting methods are destroyed by locusts. And we certainly have to find also novel ways and effective ways to secure the food we are planting and secure that our respective populations will be fed. And drones can help here. Drones can help specifically for the Asian continent. And I will come to that in the next slide, bringing a lot of benefits also to us. Looking into Asia as such, but also specifically India, we have a structure of smallholder farming, which is quite common. And that's unique if you compare that to the rest of the world. If you look into the United States, where you have huge farms, even Europe or Australia would be a little bit bigger. And we typically have smallholder farmers as family holdings, as communities, as corporations, which have field sizes of partially up to a hectare, varies a little bit with the region. And quite commonly, this is still lacking. Those production systems are lacking efficiency and efficacy, and will have farmers on there who not always have the means to apply optimum and hence lose part of their harvest. And I think we've estimated that the efficiency potential you can get out of smallholder farmers in having just more precise applications, less wasteful applications, more sustainable ones, where you don't spend too much of your compound spraying the sky or the surrounding environment. You could actually increase production up to 50%. And drones can certainly help us here, specifically in protecting the operator during the spray application while gaining efficiency. And I think we've all seen those situations when you move around the countryside and the field. If you treat, for example, rice or also others, if you have paddies here, it's quite tedious work, and it's a high risk of contamination. If you do not wear the right PPEs, you would be exposed to chemicals. It's also quite bumpy to walk through a paddy field. Hence also the precision of delivery, of course, of our active ingredients and our products, which we bring out, varies if you step or if you don't calibrate properly, and exposure risk of the operator is high. I think I remember we had a few cases in India, thinking back to 2017 in Maharashtra, where operators were exposed unjustifiably with products which did harm to them. And again, here, I think we have an opportunity to improve that situation, specifically for smallholders. And then just in the introduction, I also learned that labor is also becoming an issue. Labor cost is an issue. We have a trend for migration into cities, where we have more skilled jobs to do. And over time, when countrysides age or have a bit scarcity of laborers there in the country, again, if you move towards an automation of applications, that can really help efficiency with the farmers. And certainly, I think India has a great potential here also to leapfrog production systems, whereas, let's say, spray rigs, larger spray rigs, very consolidated fields are quite established in the United States. Those investments are very heavy, and also looking into drone technology, potentially leapfrogging this technology of very big tractors, very big spray booms for certain crops, maybe really to the benefit of the Indian farmer and also to the benefit of the respective income and safety. So what can drone technology bring to us? What can it help us with in supporting smallholder agriculture in India? Oops, there was. It can lead to a much more precise application, because you can have constant parameters of drone flight. And with that, of course, efficiency becomes higher. You can treat fields a lot faster than with manual spraying. And most of all, and most important, the safety of the operator can be increased tremendously, of getting people out of the field who are poorly protected. You could have a machine doing those applications for them with more skilled pilots flying those objects. So that's a great opportunity to be more precise, to be more efficient, and to be more safe. A great transition and an opportunity to leapfrog other technologies, as I'm sure India is very capable of. When we look a little bit into the development and into cost, to do applications with flying objects is already quite common since almost 40 years. If you look into Japan, we had RC helicopters established in the regulations and also established in the fields. Those were very much requiring very skilled pilots and very expensive. So you were looking at a very, very big Mercedes to fly those objects. Now, drone technology has become a lot cheaper. It has been adopted. If you look into
some figures here from China. The land adoption of using drones for treatment is almost increasing as much as computer power every year. Further, the price of drones have dropped significantly. If you just look into the right figure here, those almost 500,000 rupees is the price of a really advanced drone these days. It's purchasable for that amount. I think just a couple of years back, the drone was about 4 times the price, so around 2 million rupees. That's the very recent development, becoming more affordable. And of course, this is a high-end drone. There's also more affordable objects around from different countries and different companies. So let's look a bit into regulations. Drone technology is new, and regulations are certainly needed to make sure that this technology can be used safely and to the benefit of the farmer, and also to the benefit of the society around that. I would take you through a little bit of a snapshot of the regulations around the world in this next section. If you look into building regulations, and this is part of our CropLife Asia SOP here, there are 3 very important elements for any regulation. You have as a basis for flying objects your civil aviation law. And I understand that's already a part where Indian regulators have looked deeply in, and it is regulated already also for drones. And then uttermost important is an SOP, a standard operating procedure, to ensure that the physical operation of the drone is conducted safely. And that's for spray operations for once, but that's also for any aerial photography or surveillance of drones. Those SOPs basically set the regulatory frame of which drones can fly at what conditions. And of course, for spray operations, this is also very important, as it sets the boundary conditions of flight height and flight speed, which then has an influence on number 3. So that's the permission to spray, the permission to use agricultural products with drones, which are safe if you use them with trained pilots in the frame of the SOP, which again the government can set. So if it is certain that the drone is regulated in its overall mass, which is flying, in its flying speed, in its in the condition of certain wind speeds where drone flight is permissible, and regulating the operator who's permitted to fly the drones, I think then you are in good shape to look into the permission of the respective chemical spraying, which is number 3. So to recap, 3 very important components: civil aviation, SOP, and the permit for applying pesticides. And I have taken those 3 topics when you look into this table and provide you a snapshot of Asian regulations, of where we have respective regulations in place which permit drones. So if you look in the left column, this is your civil aviation law, number 1. If you look into the middle column, this is your SOP, your operations. And where it says spray, this would be your number 3, where spray application is permitted. And if every tick is green, the country has a full-fledged regulation in place which permits the use of drones for agricultural products on a daily basis. And you would see this here for 3 countries in Asia Pacific currently. Japan here is our clear role model. Japan had a proper regulation in place already since more than 30 years, regulating initially the RC helicopters, and they have extended and deregulated last year to permit the use of drones, in the sense that registered products have minimal additional data requirements to be able to be used in drones. Japan specifically deregulated to enable that technology. Korea is on a similar basis. The Philippines have recently published a green book where they regulate field testing with drones. You can apply for official use permits, and the process is on a good way for competition. Malaysia, label expansions to drone use are already possible and regulated. So basically, products which are on the market already, if they comply to an SOP and have proven bioefficacy, drone use of those products is already possible. So then we have a few countries like Thailand and like Indonesia, which are positive in their technology, which have tested a lot on the field, but where regulations are still not yet in place. In India, I'm very positive to see very recent developments. There was a lot of work on drafting a regulation for the locust infestation as an exemption currently, but also working on the civil aviation and the SOP, the operator part, with a lot of energy in recent weeks and months. So I'm confident also that India is moving into the direction of facilitating this technology. China has done that. You have seen the numbers, and China has a model of adopting technology and drafting regulations later. So China has clarified civil aviation done, operations done. Up to today, there is no specific pesticide regulations as the country tolerates to use any registered products in drones as of now. Potentially in the future, there will be specific regulations, but currently this is still pending while commercialization with drones is possible. So that gives you a snapshot of what's happening in Asia. And really Asia here is the driver, is most important. I give you an insight of other parts of the world, just very briefly, because other parts of the world are not as advanced as Asia. The US is currently looking into or trialing efficacies for drones for pesticide applications. But as they have a very, very different farming structure, larger fields, drones were of less priority than for smallholder farming here in Asia Pacific. Brazil, I would like to highlight, has made specific moves. They have published a draft regulation now, and it's open for public commenting until the beginning of September. And other countries in Latin America and in America have not established regulations yet. Similarly for Europe and Australia and New Zealand, Switzerland has published a drone regulations. Drone use is permissible. You can get a registration in Switzerland. The European Union has first started with a blanket non-approval and now is looking deeply into using drones for special cultures. We have a lot of valuable wine grape growing on very steep, slopey areas, and drone use would certainly be helpful and safer than using helicopters here. So when building regulations, when I started out also engaging with regulators, of course, safety is uttermost important. So what we did also in the CropLife team and also from within my company is trying to find some answers to questions regarding regulations, which we're happy to share with regulators who are in the process of developing regulations to make sure that we address safety aspects holistically and then have a proper regulation which enables us to use that technology. Just a small recap, as we had just the number 1, 2, and 3 parts of a regulation, your civil aviation law, your operation, the SOP being uttermost important. And then it's a question of what additional data requirements do I have? What aspects are important for me from a safety aspect to take a look into? Operator exposure here, most important. What is the benefit to the operator? Human contamination is always key. Bioefficacy, of course, too, is the efficacy and is the residue situation comparable to my conventional applications, or is that any different? And do I need to take care of any off-target drift, for example, to prevent some phytotox risk to my neighboring fields? Those are important questions where we did some studies to find answers. And once those answers are there, the benefits of drones can be enjoyed. And this is certainly application efficiency, so 30 times better efficiency than manual applications. You can be a lot quicker. A lot of water saving potential. Only 3% of the water volume is used because formulations can be more concentrated. And further, the cost depends on your labor prices. Over the long run, gets cheaper. So we have some countries where the drones are clearly cheaper, even compared to spray rigs in the United States. Investment into drones is cheaper. And in India, there will be a break-even point, I think, at some stage. And very important from my perspective, as I also advocate safety and I'm responsible for safety in my company, operator exposure safety is really a key benefit of drone technology. So by driving regulations, framing the right regulations, focusing on SOP, on civil aviation, and looking into the data, we can enjoy the benefit of using drones in agriculture. And just as this first pillar, civil aviation, I leave to the specialist, is not up for me to talk about, but SOPs from a stewardship perspective are very important. And I would like to simply point you to CropLife Asia's standard operating procedure, which was a first draft to put the most important frame for drone use into a paper that's available. And I believe there's also a discussion paper which is being put together by CropLife India and which may be shared later in this conference today. Second, we looked a bit into the other aspects of drone regulations, and I would just like to briefly introduce that to you. Bioefficacy being an important one, conducted over tests in over 50 products in a lot of different trials all over the region. Tested operator safety specifically in a state-of-the-art operator exposure study. Tested the dietary safety aspects to check does residues which you have in your crops compare to your conventional application, and of course also looked into drift, doing a full-scale drift trial to see if there's any undue harm due to drift. And I would simply introduce the different spray modes and then share a few results with you. Certainly, if we look into standard applications with drones, it's spray applications. So you would have your fixed nozzles or drift-reducing nozzle or variable nozzles, as you see here. And those are very much comparable to ground spraying, more or less, to backpack spraying or a spray boom. Not really comparable to aerial spraying by airplane or by helicopter, where drift is a lot larger than with this drone, specifically as you have a downwash by the rotors, which push the liquids and the chemicals downwards strongly. Other forms of applications which do not drift at all would be dripping. If you have rice paddies, for example, and you would like to apply a rice herbicide, you could drip your formulation into a rice paddy. Or it could be even dry, so you could spread granules or you could spread seeds by granule spreaders with drones, gaining some precision there. And just an overview coming back to the efficacy trials. As mentioned, we tested more than 50 products. And if you look to the right, the good news was that products off the shelf, so those are not special products, the large majority of those products were fine for application with drones. They showed efficacy. Very few did not work. There were some SL formulations which did not work. And there were some formulations, like some WPs, which needed additional measures, for example, a mesh in the tank to avoid clogging of the nozzles. But the majority of available formulations on the market was compatible with drones. Coming to yes?
Dr. Okay, sorry to interject. Could I request, in the interest of time, if you could speeden up a bit? You could,
Of course.
yeah.
Of course. Then let me just simply jump to the results of the safety trials. So if you look into bioefficacy, I just mentioned that you have most of the products are efficacious. If you look into operator safety, there was a very clear picture that the drone, if you benchmark that compared to a conventional sprayer, is up to 100 times, at least up to 100 times safer, less operator exposure. If you looked into residues, they were absolutely comparable to conventional spray, as in the end, the gram active ingredient per hectare which you spray is the same, even if the concentration of your formulation is different. Spray drift depends very much on your boundary conditions, so setting them right in your SOP, in your guidance is important, wind speed, flight speed, and so on. And then they are comparable to a boom sprayer rather than an airplane or a helicopter. Let me jump to the mother regulations. If you wrap up regulations in our region, Japan is the country which has been most advanced. They have 30 years of data set on residues and efficacy trials. And let me just also, for the sake of time, jump to the conclusion there. Japan deregulated recently and concluded that if products are registered already in your country and have done residue and efficacy trials, there will be no more need to repeat them by drones, as results are usually comparable. What is important is to check for phytotoxicity, as the concentration of the formulation will be different. So that just highlight the most advanced regulations in the world currently is Japan, and that gives a very good reference here. So for the sake of time, let me wrap up. We have taken a view on regulations, we have taken a view on safety, on data, and I believe India is already on a good way to establish regulations very soon with the very recent developments. And that would bring us into the position to enjoy the benefits of drones for specifically smallholder farming in South Asia, in India, conserving water, conserving costs, being a lot more efficient and efficacious, and having the potential for labor saving if future migration to the city is ongoing, while certainly being a great benefit of protecting the operator for safety reasons. And with that, I would very much like to thank you for the invitation today and thank you for your kind attention. Would be open to questions, and if time permits, could also show a brief video. I leave that to the organizers. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Okay. That indeed was very comprehensive, and you just juxtaposed a lot of regulation across Asia and what is permitted where in which country. And I'm sure the audience has benefited greatly out of your presentation. Now, moving forward, as was mentioned earlier, CropLife India and FICCI have jointly come out with a technical discussion paper on drone usage for agrochemical spraying. So, in order to release that paper today, may I request Dr. S.K. Malhotra, Agriculture Commissioner and Chairman, Registration Committee, Ministry of Agriculture, and Ms. Shamita Biswas, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture, Shri Ambar Dubey, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Civil Aviation, and Dr. K. Alaksundaram, Deputy Director General, ICAR, to kindly unveil that paper. That's a discussion paper which we have come out with, and request you to please switch on your videos and maybe hold that paper in your hand. So, Ms. Shamita Biswas, could I request you also to please switch on your video and hold that report? So, this is the discussion paper which we have come out with based on the inputs which we received today and the discussion which happened. We will come out with a detailed report later on and submit to the regulators and the respective government departments and ministries. So we have put it on the screen for the benefit of audience.
Sumit, I think I think Dr. Malhotra is not yet joined. So
Okay.
if we can make another request to Madam Somita Biswas and Dr. Alagisundaram, they are both there. You can unmute yourselves, Madam Biswas and Dr. Alagisundaram, and put your cap on.
Yeah, I have unmuted, but I don't have a copy of the paper on my hand because I don't have a copy.
Okay.
So please don't mind.
Ms. Biswas, if we could request you also to please share your video and
I can't speak.
okay. So thank you so much. Thank you, Shri Amber Dubey, for kindly unveiling this. And now moving forward, we have the next topic is importance of drone technology in India. And I request Mr. Rajan Luthra, who is the chairman of FICCI Drones Committee, to make a brief presentation on this. Mr. Luthra, over to you.
Thank you, Sumit. Thank you, Asatara and Dr. Ak. I'm not able to present my screen, Sumit. Can you just have the screen being shared, my presentation being shared, please?
Sure. I'll just...
So as we have seen, okay, Sumit, I'm doing that right now.
Okay.
Just confirm to me once we are sharing this.
Yeah, it is there, Rajan. Please go ahead.
So as we just heard, drones have really a wide application in the field of agriculture, and we will be talking about that. But I will be covering a little more about the drone technology and how it is taking shape in India, and how are we really going to become the hub of drone innovation is something that we heard the Honorable Minister for Civil Aviation unveil a document on 16th of July. And as part of that, I think the key word was, let's collaborate to make India the drone hub of the world. This collaboration between the startups, between the industry, between the government stakeholders and the academia is really coming on at full speed. And we have the whole ecosystem in India now geared to make this vision come true. We have more than 150 drone startups in India. Just in context, even Israel, which was kind of the very first country to start drones maybe 30, 40 years back, has only about 200 startups in the drone ecosystem. US also has a similar number around the same broad range. We also have very significant interest from large corporates, and even from an end user perspective, all the top management is now looking at drones as a key area of technology to leverage for various applications. The figures here that I've quoted with regards to the drone industry are about 2 years old, and I think these figures will in most likelihood get surpassed despite all the challenges that we are facing around us in the economy. This is both defense and commercial drones, but I think if we look at purely the commercial drones in USA alone are expected to contribute up to $46 billion of annual impact in the GDP. And I think the opportunities for us to really leverage drones for mass benefit, as we will talk about. If we really see from a FICCI perspective, we have been kind of trying to support the industry, the startups, as well as the end users and the government agencies in coming out with various aspects of how do we ensure that the regulatory environment is supporting the ecosystem in a comprehensive. Just in this year, in the last 7 years, we have undertaken significant actions, including release of reports, including having our committee meetings with inviting most of the startups which are out there, and also working with various industry bodies and government agencies in helping this ecosystem drive forward. We've had this event which was planned in March as a physical event, but it had got delayed. And today I'm very encouraged to see more than 500 participants today live on this event, gaining from the joint webinar that we are having along with CropLife. These are all made possible because we have a very encouraging environment from the government side as well, from both the minister himself down to the entire ecosystem in the government agencies has been very supportive in the last few months, and we are seeing a lot of progress being made. The same report that was released on 16th of July covered a very large amount of progress that had been made on the regulatory aspect. I've listed out 12 key points from that report here. And each of the points, while I will not read through them, but each of the points is covering multiple areas of encouraging the end users, encouraging the government agencies, and encouraging both from COVID-19 response, anti-locust operations, railway track monitoring, pipeline monitoring, and multiple other applications. We will be talking about that in more detail. But I think one of the key things that we will also hear Amberji talk about later is how this entire government enablement is really making things happen on a fast track. But I think most importantly, the regular interactions which are happening in a very formal, informal manner combined is really to understand the specific industry challenges and have very, very prompt corrective actions taken thereof. In fact, I would not shy away from saying that today, for a first time, the industry or the startups are on a back foot in terms of being able to catch up with the speed at which the change is happening. We, in the last few months, as I've mentioned, have released a couple of documents as recommendations to the government, and many of these recommendations have already been accepted. If you move forward, specific to agriculture, which, as Asitava also mentioned, there is this whole opportunity for us to double the farmers' income in India. And while the government as well as the private sector are playing a big role in making that happen, these are specifically the 5 areas where we have already heard Dr. Oetker talk about pest and disease control. But I think multiple other areas are also there for soil and field assessment, for crop health monitoring and yield estimation, for insurance surveys, for planting seeds and trees. And I think it's very heartening to note that FAO has complimented India for being the first country to use drones for anti-locust operations worldwide. And I think we will keep on seeing many such first to our account in the next few weeks and months. Let me go a little more on what are the real applications for drones and which are the applications for drones which are really making a big difference to not only the agriculture industry, but pretty much all these sectors. We have obviously seen the armed forces using drones for a very long time for multiple areas. The inspections or monitoring being carried out, surveys and mapping being done, surveillance or response, as well as the photo videography being done. Last mile delivery, as we all know, is under trials that was mentioned in the previous slide around BVLOS trials, and some of the other experimentation is happening. Once proven successful, I'm sure that will also become from yellow to green as well. The dark green color here signifies that this application is already in operation and is being used by the concerned stakeholders and industries. The light green color says that the permissions are already there. It is now up to the industry and the stakeholders to make use of the enabling technology as well as the regulatory ecosystem. It is not surprising that we have a very significant set of top leaders now paying attention to this space, because the application of drones is covering all the 38 applications that we have marked on this single page, just showing the enormity of the opportunity. Each of these lines is actually a full-fledged opportunity for us to look at the use of drones. In parallel, we are also working jointly with the government stakeholders to also look at the potential risk from drones and the threat from rogue drones and how to counter that as well. These are just a glimpse of how drone technology is being already leveraged, and I'm sure in the next few years we'll see a significant rise in the number of use cases that will get discovered and implemented, like the one we spoke about. With that, let me just end my talk here, and we can take up some of the questions offline later. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajan, for sharing some of the use case application of drones across various sectors. And I completely echo. This is a time when industry is trying to catch up with the regulatory pace at which the government is moving, and just to talk a little bit more about that, it's a great honor for me to have to invite Sri Amber Dubey, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Civil Aviation, who will be talking about drone regulation in India, emerging issues. Over to you, Sri Amber Dubey ji.
Thank you so much, and I congratulate CropLife and FICCI for getting this organized. I see there's a very large number of participants, 532. So a very good morning to all of you. I think this couldn't have come at a better time. Agriculture, as Rajan also, my good friend Rajan also mentioned, it's absolutely a focus area. You've seen it in the case of the locust stops and then various other quick changes that were done literally on the run within 24, 48 or 72 hours, including approvals by a minister at late night at his home. So that just shows how much, I mean, we don't need to, in fact, even emphasize how important farmers and agriculture are to India. And I'm so happy to see that technology is finally going to the villages. Because the general tendency is that money and talent and technology only favors the rich and the famous and the ones in the big cities like us. And it's I get so heartened to see very, very big companies and very sharp youngsters from some of our best colleges, okay, actually working on solutions for the farmers and coming up with these wonderful products. I mean, it's, as an engineer for me, engineer and a finance man for me, it's so exciting to be as part of this revolution. Of course, our role is more of a facilitator. We are bystanders and facilitators and not the doers. The real doers are those who are there on the screen right now. So, or I wouldn't like to give a long speech. I love the sound of my own voice, so I can go on and on for hours. I'll stop, and I would rather make it a little more interactive. Maybe Sumit or Rajan or Asitawa, if you can ask 3-4 questions, then I can tailor make my talk time around that, rather than going on and on about how great a work the government is doing. Sumit?
Yeah, thank you, sir. I think I already have one question. Somebody was asking, would usage of drones, specifically in agriculture sector, would it take away the jobs? So, is it a myth, or is it really cause of a concern?
Yeah, let me be very blunt. Yeah, फालतू के सवाल नहीं पूछने का. Don't waste my time. Don't waste your time. Let's move on to the next question.
Okay. So, can I to send one more question? Is there any question?
I think there was a question regarding the COVID-19 outbreak, if any common worldwide accepted framework whether potential of drones can be utilized. I think especially
sorry, is that Rajan speaking? The voice is breaking.
Is it better now?
Little better, yeah.
So I think the question was if there are any common worldwide accepted frameworks for potential use of drone technology for COVID-19 outbreak. I think that was the question asked on the chat.
Yeah, so I think many countries are doing it, and we've also given full support. As I said, we are not the doers. The doers are on the screen, all the young drone entrepreneurs who, many of them I know, have done yeoman's job free of cost, in fact, because even in government during these emergency times, who can run a tender process and get people in. And in government, even for 1 rupee, if you hire someone, it can become a scam of unimaginable proportions tomorrow. So many, and I'm aware of many youngsters who have spent hours in the field at grave risk to themselves in crowd control and aerial surveillance, aerial announcements, working with police, working with health workers. Okay, so hats off to them. So all over the world this has happened, but in India, because we have unique problems and very, very congested by lanes and heavily populated places, the fact that our infection numbers and death numbers are, though of course every death is a tragedy, but our numbers, if you divide it by this huge 135 crore population, it's very, very low. Of course, we can't be complacent or too happy about this, but and drones definitely have played a big role in that. So let's go to the next question, please.
Amber, I have a question. Ankit here from Idea Forge. Amber, what are some of the concerns that you believe will have to be addressed comprehensively before spraying for agricultural uses using drones becomes a commercial norm?
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. So, see, at this moment, we are supporting all government agencies. So there are thousands and thousands of government agencies. Okay. All we are requesting is, like the other day also, another large corporate came and said, "Humko permit kar do," and all that, and we'll maintain all safety norms, etc., and SOPs. And we said, yeah, we fully believe you. The fact is, see, as a government, we have to be equal to all. Now, how do I distinguish between one party versus another? Okay, because even a large company can be reckless or just do something, and something, when it goes wrong, they can always say sorry. And then even if you penalize them, they can get some of the top lawyers to protect them. And do you think we have time now to serve the country? Or should we now go into a long court case and spend your money? Whatever money, every rupee I spend is basically your money, taxpayers' money. So I can get, I can also hire a top lawyer and start going after that one company which sprayed something, and something went south, and some kids or some water got polluted, or some kids got some burn injuries or some skin disease or some breathing problem in a village. And for all you know, even the villagers, they may just take law into their hands. Anything wrong can happen. People can get beaten up or lynched. We don't. Do we want this scenario? We don't. Okay. So I think we have to put some safeguards. And the safeguard currently is that we are being liberal if the application comes from either a central or state university or a central or a state government entity. And there are hundreds and thousands of such entities. So I'm requesting all our corporate colleagues here. I myself come from the corporate background. I'm not a bureaucrat. I'm here on a 3-year contract. So all my corporate colleagues, I'll request them that just tie up, because earlier also Raja and Stava spoke about collaborations. We cannot win this war without collaboration. None of us are capable enough. So just collaborate with a local university or state government or the local agri department, and just get us a formal letter from them, class A officer or a senior professor or a dean or the university. And once they take responsibility, we'll be very happy to consider, because otherwise, from the Home Ministry side and the security agencies, carrying any payload is completely banned. It's only for agriculture that we have this special dispensation, thanks to locust. As they say, never let a crisis go waste. So we use this crisis. It was a crisis. Even today, there's a big request from Haryana government, and we are examining that very closely. Some 4 districts have reported swarm attacks. So we are working very fast to try and get the necessary approvals. So only for locusts we were allowing it, but using this little opening, I think we're all very smart people on this video call. Let's use this crisis to immediately collaborate, and I'm giving you a way out. This is not stated policy, but if you approach us, I'm assuring you that we will find a way. And we have done it in the past. I don't want to pat our own backs, because all we are doing is seva. We are here for service. And whatever Rajan mentioned, there are all verifiable actions, dates, and actual events. So let's just be assured that the government will not stand in the way. Both our secretary, the agri secretary, our ministers are all for technology and use of technology for precision agriculture and pesticides and spraying, etc. It's just that we need to avoid any negative development or recklessness, And the only way to get out of that at the moment, maybe 5 years down the line, we'll laugh on today in 2025, laugh on this discussion today and say, this is what we were chatting in July of 2020. But at this moment, we have to go take, as I said, as I keep saying in many such occasions, is that in India, if you want to succeed, have a grand vision, but take baby steps. If you take this, I'll change the world kind of attitude, you'll fall flat. Okay, and we'll also be embarrassed as government and regulators. So what I'll request is Ankit and all the youngsters on this video call, have a grand vision. Dunya badal denge, we'll change the world, we'll be global drone hub of the world. All that is part of a grand vision, but take baby steps. So the current baby steps is there are almost 145 central universities. There are many other state government universities. There are 30 states, each one has a agri department, and then of course we have the union agri. So we are giving you a combined set of almost maybe 200 such entities with whom you can work. We are also, by the way, also good news that we got a letter from FICCI also, and we are working very closely with them. In fact, this will be the first agri university which will get or agri research institution, which may, I mean, the file is still awaiting approval from our minister. And once that, if that happens, it will be the first such agri research entity that will get the permission. So, I mean, good things are happening. Let's just collaborate and get it done. But go through the baby step approach of going through a government agency, central or state, or one of the central or state universities. Sumit?
Yeah. So there is another question. If I'm an Indian farmer, can I buy drone and use for agrochemical spraying in the field? If it is possible, that is the registration and approval I need to get from the government.
अब यार फिर से पूरा भाषण देना पड़ेगा. ये ऐसा है, आप देखो हमारे ये राजन भाई हैं और दूसरे हमारे अंकित भाई और तीसरे हमारे ये स्मित भाई ही, so I'm sure he must be on the call. Okay, so approach FICCI. I'm sorry. Approach these very fine gentlemen, very committed, hardworking people, very sharp people. And I'm sure that they'll come up with some. See, ये सब बच्चों वाले सवाल ना. Let's put them on a FAQ type thing. And आपका इतना बड़ा, अब इतनी बड़ी आपने इतनी बढ़िया रिपोर्ट निकाली है, इसी में एक कोई है ना वो हेल्पलाइन बना दीजिए और उसके सारे FAQs. मैं छोटा सा नादान सा बच्चा हूँ, मैं कहाँ से खरीदूँ, क्या करूँ, किसके पास जाऊँ, किसके पास हाथ जोड़ूँ. All this can be addressed in a FAQ. Let's use this platform to very sharp questions so that I can give you sharp answers and get back to public service.
Amber, one additional question I wanted to ask was, what do you think is the current commercially scalable opportunity which has wide deployment capability in agriculture?
यार पूछ लेना, IIT से होना यार, IIT वाले सवाल पूछ लिया. अब यार क्या बोलूं, 6.6 lakh villages is what we have, and I keep throwing this number. Even if 1/6 of those, maybe 1 lakh villages have enough money to buy. If they have tractors, they can definitely buy a drone, right? I mean, a tractor will be also 3, 4, 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, whatever. And a drone will also be 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs, 5 lakhs. And we can make special purpose drones which do not have some 200 capabilities like the phone that we have. 200 capability on my phone or laptop or the PC on which I'm working. It has 10,000 apps. I use only 4 apps. Okay, so maybe there is a need for Ankit, you and your young drone community to come up with Indian solutions for Indian problems. The farmer in those villages does not require all the gizmos and all the bells and whistles. Come up with a 30,000, 50,000, or maybe 100,000 rupee drone. I'm telling you, there are 1 lakh villages waiting for you. 1 lakh villages, and I'm not throwing big numbers. I'm a finance man and a numbers guy. Okay, 1 lakh villages are waiting for you. Okay, usme bhi, right now, you know, we are strapped for funds and we keep talking about the Disha fund. Disha mein, A actually stands for agri, right? So maybe we can come up with a 20%, 30% scheme because we want the villagers to definitely put some money. Anything given as khairat or free or charity is never respected. Okay, it's like free water or electricity. So if they put up a 20% or 30% margin money on a 1 lakh rupee drone, 70,000 comes from maybe good, well-meaning people, charitable organizations, NGOs. Government can also put in some 10 or 20%. ऐसा कुछ हम लोग है ना, FICCI. This is the sort of real discussion we want to have once this conference is over. You know, with FICCI, with the Drone Federation, with the Agri Ministry, that we come up with some kind of a corpus through which Government can put in 10-20%. The others can put in some remaining 40 or 50 odd, and the village, the panchayat, can always put money together and put in the remaining 20 or 30% margin money, so that they own that drone. It should not be given as a toy. वो 2 बार उड़ाया, गिर गया, टूट गया, पड़ा हुआ side में. Okay, so if a village can afford 3, 4, or 5 tractors and a harvester combined, definitely he can get a drone. So, sorry for giving such a long answer to a short question. Your question was, what is the commercially scalable? I would say 1 lakh villages is your scalable number, and the 1 lakh can easily become 3 lakh villages. Okay, I mean, let's be practical. Not all 6.6 lakh villages will be able to afford a drone, but even if 1 lakh drone, especially starting from the rich states, like Western UP, Punjab, I mean, where like your mooch, you flaunt your tractor. Okay, just because Baljit brought it, so Manjeet has to buy a new tractor because Baljit just bought a new tractor. So that those are the places where we have to reach out and bring some youngsters, train them, show them the power of the drone and how it can actually increase precision agri and better results. Because ultimately, it's all about cost and benefit. At a lower cost, if he gets higher benefit more than the cost, he will be a convert. Once he converts, if a few villages in Haryana, Punjab, or South or Western UP get converted because they have money to flaunt, okay, then I think it's scalable on its own. Because villages also have their own WhatsApp. Let's not forget. They also have their own social media. Ankit?
A quick question, Mr. Amber, is since there is a continuous engagement and synergy between Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of...
Introduce कर दी मैम, आपका शुभ नाम क्या है?
Good morning, sir. My name is Sangeeta. I am from CropLife Secretariat. I mean, I belong to Bayer Crop Sciences. Can you hear? Hello?
जी बताइए.
Sir, Ministry of Agriculture or Ministry of Civil Aviation are major partners in engagement and synergies. और आपने अभी इतना definitely lot of context दिया भी है. So how do you advise and see the role MOA or DGCA along with MOAF in collaborative ecosystem to enable this drone application technology in agriculture and specifically for crop protection, sir?
मैं समझा नहीं, आपने बड़ा कंसल्टेंट वाला सवाल पूछा है. I didn't get the specific. मतलब मुझसे क्या जवाब चाहिए आपको?
Sir, एक collaborative platform. Do you foresee or what is your guidance between Ministry of Agriculture or Ministry of Civil Aviation के अंदर कुछ बना सकते?
Okay, got it. See, collaborative platform, paradigm shift, ये सब है ना. In my consulting life, I used to use these words a lot. But है ना, धंधे की बात करते हैं. जब लोकस में करना था तो मैंने बताया ना, 20 मई को एग्री की चिट्ठी आई थी. अतीश भाई हमारे, अतीश चंद्रा जी वहाँ ज्वाइंट सेक्रेटरी, और उनकी 20 मई को चिट्ठी आई थी. 20 की रात को मंत्री जी के घर भेजी गई. 8 बजे रात को उन्होंने साइन किया. अगली सुबह 9 बजे हमारे पास आ गया. ओके, और उसके बाद दोपहर तक हमने इशू कर दी थी 21 मई को. ये दीज आर ऑल इन द पब्लिक ऑर्डर्स, दे आर ऑल ऑन आवर वेबसाइट. सो we don't need any platform. We don't need any collaborative platform. We pick up the phone and speak. We are all brother ministries. We are all public servants. You are the public. We are the servants. You pay my salary when you pay your taxes. I hope you paid your taxes on time. So, sorry for sounding a little confused, because I'm confused with this question, because there is no collaborative platform required. एक ये जो webinar हो रहा है, this is also a collaborative platform. You have every senior person from the industry, regulators, and the government on this collaborative platform. This is both collaborative and a platform. तो कितना टाइम लगा? एक WhatsApp आया था कि भाई ये 10:30 बजे आप थोड़ा टाइम निकालिए, हमने टाइम निकालिए. So as I said, let's avoid big words. Let's just do धंधे की बात. फार्मर की सेवा करिए, टेक्नोलॉजी और उसको लाइए. उसका जो बेनिफिट है should be more than the cost applied to the farmer. एंड पैसा ही पैसा कमाइए, खूब बनिए, सब अंबानी बनिए भाई. अंबानी जी के कुछ दोस्त लोग हैं भी इस कॉल पे. खूब बनिए, खूब पैसे कमाइए. वी आर हियर टू हेल्प यू, बिकॉज एवरी टाइम यू मेक मनी, वी मेक 18% GST out of it. And when you pay salaries, we also get income tax out of it. So we are also your partners. We don't need any platform to collaborate. Any great idea, send us a WhatsApp. In fact, many of the इनको द्रोणाचार्य बोलते हैं कि हमारा WhatsApp ग्रुप है with all these young and it's a very exciting group. सुबह उठते ही सबसे पहले मैं द्रोणाचार्य ग्रुप में पढ़ता हूँ. So there are always lots of nice stories, latest development. वो जर्मनी में हुआ, इजराइल में ऐसा हुआ, जापान में किया. लड़ाई झगड़े भी होते हैं, हमारा समुद्र मंथन भी होता है उसमें. और उस लड़ाई झगड़े से भी कहते हैं ना समुद्र मंथन से. I know there are some foreigners here, so maybe I'll just speak in English. So from that churning comes wish, which is poison, and after the wish comes also a lot of amrit. तो वो it's a very exciting group that we have, and उसमें बहुत अच्छे ideas आते हैं. That is also a collaborative platform. Any good idea उसमें जो आता है उसको immediately within We debate, discuss, decide. We allocate work amongst ourselves. So a lot of our work immediately, if it's a good idea, we give it back to the drone entrepreneur. Somebody amongst the entrepreneur group takes up, okay, मैं इसका note बनाता हूँ, कोई ये बनाएगा, एक presentation बना देगा, एक video film बना देगा. तब तक पीछे से हम यहाँ शुरू हो जाते हैं. मैं इस ministry को लिख रहा हूँ, मैं उस ministry को लिख रहा हूँ, मैं regulator को लिख रहा हूँ. इस तरह से करके we are trying to ultimately we are measured by, as our honorable Prime Minister says, NPV बोलते हैं ना, हमारे finance में बोलते हैं NPV, net present value. हमारे NPV has a different meaning. It's called numbers, photos, videos. Ultimately, whatever buck we do has to translate into NPV, numbers, photos, videos, because इन्हीं तीनों पे आप झूठ नहीं बोल सकते. वैसे तो I can go on and on saying कि हम तो बहुत we are working very hard, but what's the point? End of the day, any hard work we do, okay, has to convert into numbers, photos, and videos. That's why if you notice, many of the ministry ke websites also converting into dashboards. If you come to the MOCA site, it's completely different from the website that I saw for the last 20 years. Okay, it is only numbers, numbers, numbers. In fact, we are getting hammered by the minister's office to add more numbers. And these are real-time numbers. These are not April, May, June key stories. These are all as of yesterday. Every day, every day, the data we get from multiple sources. I also, by the way, I also look at IT. So the website comes on my responsibility at the moment. So every day it is being updated. So cutting a long story short, let's all as a group focus only on numbers, photos, videos. Because इन्हीं तीन पे you can't lie on these things. I can talk a lot about how much hard work we put in. Okay, next question, please. Have I run out of time? Because how many questions more can we take? I don't want to eat into others' talk time.
Can I request to send your question in the chat so that I can raise it to Shri Dubey? Sir, this is there's a question, but again, it looks like a technical one. I'll just read it out in case you would like. But it looks like
the too technical don't ask, because I'm the least technical. I have no shame in making public display of my ignorance and say IDK. I don't know.
ठीक है sir. Sure. And
so policy related कोई हो issue ऐसा कोई
there is one.
Smith Shah कहाँ है? Smith Shah है क्या? Smith Shah, is he there lurking somewhere? He's the most naughty guy.
He's not on the speakers list today, Amber. So he's not a part of the direct coordination.
Okay. Ankit, आप पूछ लो last सवाल, फिर I don't want to eat into other people's time.
Right. So I think the last is that in terms of timelines, do you have any visibility of how can we progress in trying to work closer towards exploring this? So mainly working on the whole background concerns that the ministry has and everyone other ministries also have regarding this entire aspect of spraying, because that's the key agenda for today's discussion. If we can have any thoughts around that, that will be really helpful for the audience.
That's a good question, but I wish I had a crystal ball. Time कुछ नहीं, देखो ये तो evolve होगा. You also know whatever we've achieved in the last maybe 6-7 months with your support, okay, and from FICCI and various other well-meaning people, and support from our brother ministries. It's all evolving because see, our objective is the same. Yes, our grand vision is to become the drone hub of the world. It is to become an agriculture power. In fact, as a country, we want to be a superpower, something we should have become maybe 500 years ago. But all those are grand visions. Grand visions will not happen. It's like climbing the Mount Everest. You don't look at the Mount Everest when you climb Mount Everest, otherwise you fall flat. So you take every next step very carefully, and every blizzard or every wind or whatever comes, you might even take 10 steps upwards and then take 20 steps backwards just to save your life, if you have to reach Mount Everest. So taking that simile forward, yes, we have to evolve this because there are huge concerns about, that we have lots of law and order issues here. There's a lot of, I don't want to use this platform to go into some of the things which I read and I get in my secret files. Okay, there's a lot of concern. Okay, and every day there are drones crossing. You're working with the military, so you know some of the stuff that I'm referring to. Publicly, it's known that about 3 weeks back, BSF did shoot down a Pakistani drone with an American gun and some 6 Chinese hand grenades and 60 live rounds, etc., etc. So there's a drug smuggling. Just imagine, drugs have the highest price to weight ratio. I can, in your small drone, in the name of agri, I can put maybe just 1 kilo of some of that banned drug. I don't know what the market rate is, 2 crores, 5 crores, or 10 crores. I just do 5 such transactions and I can retire from the government and have a very cozy life somewhere in the Caribbean. So, see, there are lots of issues. So, carrying payload is a banned activity. Just for locusts, we gave a conditional exemption to Agri Ministry and to the governments of Rajasthan, UP, Haryana one is currently under in process. So it's a very, very restricted one. And as I said, yes, we will consider positively. We can't make public. I mean, this is not a stated policy. We can't just state it on a public platform just like this. So, but we will be very, very supportive. You come to us, but it's just that you have to come with a backup of. I know I'm being repetitive for the fourth time. With a central or a state agri department, or with any of these central or state universities. There are the 145 plus central universities, and state universities might be maybe another 500 odd. Come with any one of those. Okay, we'll just scrutinize, examine the papers, maybe make a few phone calls, and we will be issuing you the permission. At least we'll try to give you permission very fast. We'll not sit on it. In fact, even for Locust, the 5 drone companies, which are given an order in just 9 days, they got a work order without any tender, based on negotiations and discussions over phone. Okay, they were in 9 working days, not 9 working days, 9 calendar days, including weekends. They got the work order sitting at home, because in lockdown, they were all sitting all across India. This happened around the 6th of June. It was a Saturday, I remember. Late Saturday evening, 5 drone companies got 5 work orders of 25 lakh each, sitting in their homes. We hadn't even seen them. It was all based on paper submissions, emails and phone calls, and long arguments and discussions and logistics planning over phone calls. They never even came to Delhi. I mean, I keep hearing, you have to go 20 times to Delhi, 30 times to Delhi, and do all this dua, salam, namaste to people, make them feel important to get your 2-line approvals and chitti. This was a work order given without a tender, because this was a national emergency, sitting at home. People got it at home, and from there they were told by 9th night you have to reach certain districts in Rajasthan. 5 districts were allocated to the 5 companies. All this has happened. It's all recorded. It's all known. All this is verifiable information. So I think this should give you the confidence, because we can only talk about facts and figures and measurable facts. So this is a measurable fact. We've given it in the past. Why would we not do it in future? Please come to us by email. No need to come to Delhi or do dua, salam, namaste, make us feel important, praise us, admire us. Don't do anything. And you don't have to pay a penny. An email doesn't cost any. You don't even have to send a registered letter. Just send us the emails, just send us the documents. We'll do our own examination, verification, and some calling left, right, and center. And if everything is kosher, you'll get your permissions sitting at home. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Amber. Sumit, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for addressing some of the questions. I know some of them were technical, which I did not raise. But what we will do is, post today's discussion, we'll create a comprehensive report, and some of the pointers which emerge out of it, we'll come to your office and discuss with you, seek your further advice and guidance, and take it forward. And thank you so much for kindly sparing your
whatever
time.
You send, Sumit bhai, whatever you send, not more than 2 pages. Not more than 2 pages.
Sure,
anything more than 2 pages, not read it. Not read, actually.
Sure. Sure, sir. Sure. We'll keep that in mind. Okay, sir. Sure. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for joining us today. Yeah. Thanks. So, moving forward, now I request Ms. Shomita Biswas, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare, to share her perspective. She'll be talking on use of drone application in agriculture, regulators' perspective. Requesting you, Ms. Biswas, to kindly share your perspective. Over to you, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You are audible.
Yeah. So I think regulator perspective, at the outset, I would like to thank CropLife India for having invited me in this webinar. It's a really learning process for me as far as drone technology is concerned. At the same time, I have there is some background conversation going on.
Can I request everybody to please put their mic on mute? Requesting everybody to put their microphone on mute, please.
ICT, Indian Coast Guard is military.
Can you please put your microphone all on mute, please?
I think it is Mr. Dubey's one which is coming out with the voice.
Oh, okay.
It's muted now. It's muted now.
Sure. Ma'am, please go ahead.
Yeah. So regulator's perspective, the subject has been assigned to me. I think regulators' perspective have already been covered by Mr. Dubey, because basically Civil Aviation Ministry is the authority ultimately looking at the regulation aspects of drone use of drone. I would be basically sharing my own thought process as to how and we can sort of leverage this technology for agriculture sector per se. And at the moment, I've also had a discussion with the expert committee, which is preparing a report on the drone technology and pesticide use of pesticide, and they are in the process of finalizing that report. And so therefore, this is one aspect of agriculture where drone can be used. But what I feel is that this technology, yes, it is being used in other sectors, whereas as far as agriculture is concerned, as rightly pointed out by Mr. Dubey, this has been with special permission. This has been used for control of locust. And so we needed a special permission for that, because the issue was so critical, and rightly this technology came in our rescue, and we could control that problem last year. So now, but I would like to say that yes, this is one application of drone as far as agriculture is concerned, but there are other aspects also where probably we should start working on, because what I learned from different experts and fora, that there are areas. In fact, the PwC also has made some analysis on that. That there are areas where drone technology can be used besides use in pesticide spray. So, for example, and when we are talking about doubling of farmers' income, we need to take into account all kinds of inputs, including pesticides. Pesticide is important, but there are other fields where the drone technology, if used, then definitely farmers probably can be benefited. So which category of farmers can be benefited, how they can be benefited, that we can discuss later. But let us, as a little bit, maybe many of you probably are aware that kind of technology which other countries are using drones for, and in India also it can be used for, provided we have that kind of drone based technology, drone mounted technology, if those kind of technology can be developed. One is that soil and field analysis. If this kind of analysis, drone mounted technology is used, the useful in planning seeds, planting pattern, and soil analysis can be done, and soil analysis through the data provided by the drone enabled technology. So this can definitely help us in irrigation, the level of irrigation, the quantity of irrigation, and nitrogen level management. It also can help us in nitrogen level. And then second area could be in the agriculture could be, why I'm saying that industry should also start thinking on those areas of agriculture. This is the high time that we should start thinking on those lines. Second is the planting, that there are, in the planting also, if these systems, like what PwC has, analyzed, that 70, if the startups can create drone planting system that can achieve an uptake rate of 75% and decrease planting cost up to 85%. And these systems shoot pods with seeds and plant nutrients into the soil and providing the plants all the nutrient necessary to sustain life. I agree, it may not be possible for all farmers in this country, but as rightly pointed out by Mr. Dubey, there could be some farmers, definitely out of 12 crore farmers in the progressive part of India, they can individually also can, probably procure such technology. But there are ways and means to help the other small and marginal farmers also that we can, I can come on at a later stage. Then crop spraying, we are already, into this. We are sort of spraying pesticides, locust control we have used, and we can further use this technology for other crops also, and for other insect pests also. But for that we need, a really very high level of security and safety system, installed in the entire process, so that what happens generally in such when we use drone technology for pesticide application, even if we say have 100 stories, positive stories on this, that it is being used successfully, but one negative story will be remembered all the time, not the 99 positive stories. So therefore we need to be really very careful when we propagate this technology across the board. So it is very important. And then there is another area of agriculture, probably drone technology we should be working on, is crop monitoring system. And developing crop monitoring system, there are, time series animations can show the precise development of crop and reveal production inefficiencies. Then irrigation. See now, there are in our country, there are area where dryland farming is going on, or rainfed area are there, where and water table is going down and down. That is also a fact of the matter. So therefore, use of drone technology in efficient irrigation can help the farmer. At the same time, crop health is another area where this technology can be used. And and if crop health is assessed at the right time by the farmer, a speedy response can save an entire crop of farmer with the help of drones. So these are the couple of things which I thought I would be flagging. Maybe many of you are already aware, but I think we need to start working on these aspects of agriculture also, if at all we want to help the farmers of this country. And I mean, again, the safety security issue must be addressed first. Then only probably we should be going in for the popularization of this technology. Because I also learned that most drones are imported, and we have this import restriction also on this, and therefore on that count also we need to think, and I would like to call upon this industry body that how we can develop an indigenous technology, particularly in the agriculture sector, wherein these kinds of drone enabled technology can be used for increasing the productivity and production of crop. So then another area which is very important in my opinion is that probably we may have in future a very safe and secure drones. However, the capacity building of all the stakeholders down the line, including farmers and including the drone, the operators, pilots, orientation of the entire, people who are involved in this entire process. They should also be oriented. Their capacities should be built, and rigorous training program should be given so that accidents, if accidents can be avoided completely. And probably a hybrid model also can be another way to think on use of this technology. Hybrid model is partly unmanned drones, and partly at the field level some kind of technology where absolute unmanned vehicles are not feasible. In such area we can sort of think of hybrid model also. Now coming to the issue of small and marginal farmers. Big farmers, yes, if the technology is proved to be safe and secure and proved to be really efficient, the bigger farmers probably would come forward, provided the industry can showcase their product in an appropriate way to them. But when we come to small and marginal farmers, and in our country, almost 80% of our farmers are small and marginal. So what I'm trying to say, once this technology is foolproof, we can then have this particular thing also in a way of custom hiring concept we can develop in drones also. We have a scheme already wherein we are supporting small and marginal farmers through custom hiring centers under some mission on mechanization and technology in agriculture. So there we are basically helping the farmers. Very rightly pointed out by Dubey, कुछ भी free का होता है तो उसको respect नहीं किया जाता है. So therefore, in our scheme also, 40% share comes from the farmer, and rest comes from the government. So this is a kind of thing. So once this technology, is proved to be really foolproof, then the stage will come wherein we would like to include this particular technology in our spam scheme also, in our so that we can help the small and marginal farmers through custom hiring centers. Another area probably should be that could be that, yes, one area which we are probably lacking and lagging as compared to other countries is the research and development, because still a lot of research and development is required in this, lot of investment is required in this particular aspect, so as to make this technology used in more, popularize and make this technology, applicable for the agriculture sector. So this is one, and I would call upon the industry body also that they should also, take up the, work of research and development along with the government agencies, government institutions that are there. If at all we want to, have our own indigenous technology. So these are the some of the thoughts I wanted to share with you all. And with those words, I end my talk. And I again thank you, CropLife India, for having invited me here. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for sharing your perspective. I think you highlighted very important aspect. One is of R&D and investments in this sector. R&D is essential. I mean, for a nascent sector to develop, a lot of research needs to go into it, and which definitely needs investment. And as an industry body, FICCI and CropLife together, we would definitely take steps in that direction and try and enhance and work jointly with your office and with Ministry of Civil Aviation to enhance further research and development in this country. And the capacity building part, which you also highlighted, ma'am, that's equally important. And with those words, I thank you once again on behalf of FICCI and behalf of CropLife for kindly sparing your time, sharing your vision with us. At the end of the program, after the program, we'll come to your office with some of the takeaways from the discussion and seek your further guidance to take it forward. Thank you so much, ma'am, for kindly joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
माइक बंद करो थोड़ा एक मिनट।
Mr. Manoj Lingeri?
Yes, I could hear you. Mr. Asitwar.
Please request you to please deliver, Mr. Manoj Lingeri, I request you to deliver the vote of thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Dr. Malhotra just joined. Can I ask Asitara to formally welcome him and we'll hear few words from him?
Hello. Yeah, thanks Manoj and Malhotra Saab. Thank you very much for coming, and I believe you have been attending from the very beginning and patiently listening to all of us. Thank you very much for joining. We also had Dr. Alagasundaram, who also joined later, so welcome to him as well. And we look forward to hear both of your perspectives a little later. Manoj, please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of CropLife India and FICCI Drone Committee, I would like to thank all the speakers now. To start with Dr. Bjorn Rocky, who is the head of regulatory affairs in Singapore, for giving us the overview on the regional or the Asia Pacific use of drones as well as in global. He also talked about the use of drones, need of drones for use of pesticide application, how suitable it is for the Asia Pacific countries, especially India, because of the small landholding farming, the advantages it offers, mainly the operator exposure, the efficiency it brings in, the precision which it provides for agriculture. So these are the key benefits which he brought in. He also touched upon the regulations for pesticide applications in other countries, starting with Japan, and how the regulations have evolved, and the need of, based on the available information, the use of drone can be really comparable with the knapsack sprayers, and available formulations are fit for use. So he emphasized on those regulations. Thank you very much, Bjorn, from CropLife India and FICCI Drone Committee on this. Then Ms. Rajan Luthra, FICCI Drone Committee Chairman. Thank you very much for providing the insights into the drone use applications in agriculture. He talked about its use in more than 38 sectors in agriculture, and also about the speed in which the government has brought in the regulations in consultative mode with the various stakeholders. Thank you very much, Sri Ambesh Dubey sir. This is really a passionate words. I can't say it as a speak, but a very passionate words for the entrepreneurs and the corporates on how do we look at the situation. Your advice on having a big vision and taking a baby steps, and your advice on having a collaborative approach with the state universities and the state governments for taking this technology forward, considering the risk associated with it, and the support extended by the government by way of an fast tracking of drone use for locust control, which very much appreciated by FAO, which thanked India for using drones, making the drone use possible in drone application. And your encouraging words for the entrepreneurs for taking this technology across the various villages. You talked about 6.6 lakhs villages, and opportunity is waiting in more than 1 lakh villages to start with. and your support, your encouraging words for the support for taking this technology forward. So thank you very much on behalf of CropLife India and FICCI, sir.
Can I just have a quick word? Thanks for the kind words. I lost my cool at one of the questions. I just want to publicly apologize for doing that. I shouldn't have done that. Just that it just got my goat when I was all thinking about drones and bigger issues. Okay, but my apologies to the audience. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Then Mr. Shramita Biswas, Madam, the Joint Secretary, Mechanization and Technology from Ministry of Agriculture. Thank you very much for your words on the need of the agriculture, use of technology in agriculture, especially not only in agriculture spray operations, but also in areas like soil analysis, which will help in planning the irrigation and fertilizer activity. You also stress upon the need for use of this technology in planting operations or in crop spraying, keeping safety and the security in mind. You really talked about the guidelines being framed by the ICR drone committee on this, which will be coming up with it, with the report shortly. And also you talked about the capacity building with all the stakeholders, especially on the training aspect of it, considering the hazard, some of the accidental hazard associated with it. So that will be taken, and having this use of some of the government schemes for taking up this technology forward, and also R&D activities with the government institutes. So thank you very much, all the speakers. I thank again on behalf of CropLife India and the FICCI Drone Committee for your valuable words and valuable time in this webinar.
Thank you, Mr. Dingley. Thank you for your proposing word of thanks. Now we move on to the next session, which is a panel discussion. And the topic is drone application, regulatory perspective, operations, stewardship, issues, and way forward. The session would be moderated by Mr. Rajveer Rathi, who is the leader of CropLife India Task Force. And I request Mr. Rathi to please take over. Mr. Rathi, over to you.
Thanks, Sumit. Thank you so much. Good morning, or rather good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to welcome the eminent scientists and eminent people for this panel discussion, which are very learned. And the topic which is there for panel discussion, I think it's rightly on time when we look at what we heard just from various experts on this topic. And today we have really 8 panelists, and I'll call out their name for the benefit of the people who are attending the webinar. We have Dr. S.K. Malhotra, who is Agriculture Commissioner and Chairman, Registration Committee, Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. Dr. J.P. Singh, Secretary CIB and RC, I think he will join in a few minutes. Dr. K. Alaj Sundaram, who is Deputy Director General, Indian Council of Agriculture Research, handling the Agriculture Engineering Department. We have Mr. Ramesh Ramchandran, who is Senior Vice President, Farming as a Service and Head of Farm Sector Strategy, Mahindra and Mahindra. Then we have Mr. Ankit Mehta, who is Co-Chair, FICCI Drone Committee, and is also co-founder and CEO, Idea Force Technology. We also have Dr. Keith Cressman, who is Senior Locus Forecasting Officer, Food and Agriculture Organizations, United Nations. We have Dr. John Andaloro, who is Global Technical Product Manager, FMC Agricultural Solutions. And last but not least, Mr. Bhagirath Chaudhary, who is Founding Director for South Asia Biotechnology Center. I would also like to mention in the beginning that we do have special invitees to hear one or two special comments at the end of the panel discussion. And we have Dr. Siang Hee, who is Executive Director from CropLife Asia. Then we have Dr. Manjeet Singh, who is Principal Scientist, Punjab Agriculture University. Mr. R.G. Agarwal, who is the Chairman of FICCI Agrochemical Subcommittee. And Dr. T.P. Rajendran wants to make some comment, and we'll see that how efficiently this panel discussion can be put forward. So let me by requesting Dr. S.K. Malhotra I think, Dr. Malhotra, you will agree that the future lies in the digital farming, and drone applications certainly has a bright future, which has been alluded by the previous speakers. We would like to hear, for the benefit of the participants, that how was the the experience of using drone for the locust control. And the other thing is, if you can also share that how the regulatory framework and guidelines, what we have seen the other countries which has adopted, can some of those things can be adopted for an efficient and a clear predictive regulatory system to be put in place. Dr. S.K. Malhotra, over to you. Sir, before you speak, just another request is I'll request each panelist to make remarks for 3 to 4 minutes for the benefit of time. Dr. Malhotra, over to you.
Thank you, Rajbir. Really good to see you here. So first of all, I convey my thanks to CropLife of India as well as FICCI for organizing such an important event related to this drones application technology spraying for the crop protection. So Rajbir, thank you for putting some questions before me. And at the outset, I would like to mention about the benefits. Yes, our previous speakers, they have already mentioned about the benefits. Yes, we need to accrue the benefits which are lying through the use of this drone technology, etc. Yes, field capacity of the drone is higher, no doubt about it. As it has been mentioned by our previous speaker, Mr. Roque also. He mentioned 30 times, but in some literature it is written 20 times. But anyway, it's good. But we need to make out that yes, it has its benefit, and its a field capacity is more if we compare with the conventional approach. And another point is water saving is there. So low water consumption will be there. So no doubt about it. So this is the first question which you mentioned about the benefits. And I think we need to take benefit of this new technology, this innovative technology, and we can immediately control the menace. So because this is a locust is the latest example I'm saying, and it has occurred at the very large scale. So now second part which relates to experience about the locust. Yes, locust entered our country, and after 23 years, I think the first time we are experiencing at a very, I should say in an aggressive way, it has come, and it has posed a great challenge before us. And not only Rajasthan and Punjab, now it has, even it went to the other states also. So, and apart from this locust, we have some other problems also. This invasives. All armyworm is there, one example. Spilling rugose, whitefly is another example. There are several viruses also there. So invasives are also now posing great threat to us. So here, this drone technology could be very effectively used. This I believe. And again, it is a challenge before the regulatory system also, regulatory authorities also, that how we can further fine tune the system. Because there are several questions which are posed before the registration committee, even which I chair. So registration committee, we discussed this matter. I remember I have discussed this matter several times with the industry also. Rajbir is available with us. Sangeeta is also available with us. Raju Kapoor. We discussed this matter several times, and even through video conferencing we discussed. Then one point was that product compatibility to the drone spray. That was the point. Do we have products which are compatible to this drone spray? Then further, we need to develop the standard operating procedures, which Mr. Roque also mentioned about this. So there are several informations which are available worldwide. So we need to see that how we can adopt them. And this matter was also discussed in the registration committee. Then experts, they also mentioned that yes, bioefficacy is needed. Bioefficacy informations are a lot of bioefficacy information. Then this maximum residue limit informations are available for our conventional spraying system. But whether those could be used as such for drone technology when we use them for spraying purpose. So will it be applicable? This is one question. Another is there are several critical parameters which are required to be, I think, some kind of information is needed on those parts. One is active ingredient, what should be the dose per hectare, then pre-harvest intervals, number of applications. So these are the questions which arise. So I think we need to, industry, they need to generate the data on such aspects, and then those data are required to be put before the regulatory authority. And then do we need to have a separate bioefficacy data? Several products are already available, but how we can do this? I remember recently as a chairperson, when this use of this drone technology and helicopters were came into the picture, then that issue was brought before the registration committee. Then registration committee gives a formal approval that yes, we can use it for pesticide application. This permission was granted by the registration committee. Later on, then another point was related to this ultra low volume pesticides. This also we approved. Some ULV, some recommendations also we approved, because label claim is very it's important. Without approval by the RC, I think such unapproved pesticides could not be used. So RC has accorded permission. So we are having now combinations which are available with us, but we need to. But I look towards the experts, because here experts are available, and we need guidance from them also, that how those critical gaps could be judged, could be addressed, and probable solutions are required to be provided by them. So here additional data requirement and then field testing guidelines, these all are the aspects I think where we need to deliberate upon, and we are also on the way to standardize the system so that we could register such products which are compatible to the drone spray system. So these are few of my viewpoints, and I think I'm keen to listen some other experts also. We would like to gather the knowledge, and we will act accordingly in our regulatory system while providing the permission.
Thanks, Dr. Malhotra, putting things in perspective, and I think if we look at, I think collaboration is the way forward in terms of learning and having the key takeaways from the experience globally we have. And as you rightly mentioned, some of these questions, I think that need to be sit across, deliberated, and see that what can be what is really being needed to be done and what can be avoided for the sake of repetition. So as you rightly mentioned, so thank you so much for very the open feedback and putting things in perspective the way we need to move forward. I think Dr. JP Singh is yet to join, and Dr. Alaksundaram has to attend another meeting, although we are running a little late. Dr. Alaksundaram, since you had mooted the idea of CRISI drones, and these have been very successfully deployed by the government, state governments in the local control. Can you please share your thoughts that how these experiences can be further or can help as a facilitator for adoption for the spray of already approved crop protection molecules for the benefit of smallholder farmers, I think, which has been talked earlier. We'd like to hear your views that how ICR can also play a bigger role in terms of the studies being there, the studies being generated, so that the drone application see as a reality in the field. Dr. Alaksundaram, over to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Raju. Am I audible to everybody?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you so much to you for calling me a little bit earlier than others, because I had to go for another meeting just now. And second of all, I must thank CropLife for inviting me for this meeting today. And I was hearing wonderful lectures and learning a lot of things today. And one thing I like to mention today is, like Mr. Dubey said, 5 years down the road, we'll be laughing that we had all these discussions, what we had today. It will be like, the technologies are, when the new technologies come into existence, then there will be a lot of new things that we'll be discussing. But after a certain time, we will think that they were all very small. Like the computers came in 50, 60 years ago, we were talking to small things about computers, but it is all irrelevant at the moment. Similarly, drones will really, whether we like it or not, drones will become part of our agriculture system in the future. Because of number of reasons. Number one is drone application is much safer than application using knapsack sprayers or any other ground level sprayers, because it affects the spraying man. Second of all, as Mr. Malhotra rightly said, there is a lot of water savings also. Third one, it is more efficient and it is time-wise, it is very quick. There is 30 times more quick or 20 times more quick than people find out what is happening in India. So there is a great number of advantages that the drones will have for India to use in India. But we have to be prepared for having our drones in our agriculture field. What are the preparations that we need to do are quite a few things. Number one is, first of all, manpower training. Manpower training at the level of pilot who will be operating the drone, and he needs to be trained on all the safety technical aspects of flight drones. And second of all, the safety aspect of the people handling the chemicals, because these chemicals are ultra low volume. So we need to have people who will be handling the chemicals. And third one, repair and maintenance. Once the technology is on the field, then repair and maintenance becomes the after sales service, and that is a very serious problem in poverty. Imported power tillers. Now the government has banned a little bit of import of power tillers. Service and the repair and maintenance infrastructure need to be created. Until all these things are in place, so therefore, it is important we create the infrastructure before we really go for a large scale multiplication of drones in this country. And more importantly, the training and other things. But the drones, one small problem I see in the, because I was heading the committee that was drawing guidelines for pesticide application. One small problem I see, this is, there are two things. Payload can be always sorted out with ultra low volume spraying, and then, static assisted ultra low volume spraying, then payload compromised. But the battery life is very short at the moment, and we need to have several batteries, and we need to have a charger system. It is a kind of battery of batteries with a charger system and a drone, and the operator and the handlers and all that. It's a kind of a team in a mobile unit. That type of model will work for India rather than standalone drones. They are going to be definitely not with the kind of technology we have. They may not be very much popular, but a battery of batteries, a drone, a team of people in a mobile unit can serve Indian farms, whether it is small or big. Small, the drones do not have a farm size is not a limiting factor for the drones. So therefore, small and big farms can easily hire them and then use them. So as Madam Biswas rightly said, custom hiring center is one of the best solutions for making the drones popular in this country. Quite a number of things are there, and already you have restricted our talk to 3 to 4 minutes. These are certain points I thought that this team can take for discussions in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lakshundram, for providing or sharing the experience from the ground. I think these are really useful when it comes to further putting up the SOPs and the other regulatory guidelines in place. It's just really important that we talk about the payload, battery, and other operational challenges. I think his experience certainly is a smaller one, but really make a big difference if it can be adopted and maneuvered at the right time. So I know that you have to leave for the other meeting. On behalf of CLI and FICCI, I would like to extend a special thanks and for joining us. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. Now moving on to the next panelist, Mr. Ramesh Chandran, who is Senior Vice President with Mahindra & Mahindra. Mr. Ramchandran, if I would like to hear, at least not me, but all the audience also, if you can share that what different technology implementation and service models are available. One part is that can be suitable for small and large farm holdings, and also if you can also share that how drone can open up new employment opportunities. I think that was one of the question in the morning session, and what kind of manpower can be deployed for the adoption and implementation of drone technology as a service provider, not only in crop protection, but also in the public health like vector control, which is also important. So Mr. Ramchandran, over to you.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the introduction. And thank you very much, FICCI and CropLife and the Government of India for this excellent opportunity for us to all get onto the same platform and talk. it's very energizing to hear the level of alignment between what and what the government as facilitators are also trying to do. So I for one, am really energized by this whole discussion. We spend a few minutes just the perspective of a practitioner. So I work for Mahindra and Mahindra, which many of you might know as mechanization technology pioneers. We're the world's largest tractor manufacturer by volume and have a very large presence in India. But what some of you might not know is in the last 4 years or so, we've been working very hard on bringing digital technologies to farmers in India. So very focused, as many of the people have said, on the smaller landholder. And our vision is focused on helping the smaller landholder improve his or her prosperity, improve his or her income per acre. And about a year or so ago, we have created this new approach to farming as a service. I'll very quickly overview it. So farming as a service for us is our approach to hold a farmer's hand, them with different types of interventions depending on which stage of the crop cycle they're in, all focused on helping them either optimize their cost of cultivation or improve the quality and the quantity of their yield. So it brings together a range of services, and these include agronomy advisory services. They include rental services for machines, rental both of harvesters, tractors, rotavators, sprayers, etc., but also of digital services, and that's where drones, for example, would fit in. It includes apps which can help farmers on a day-to-day basis become better farmers. And it also includes high-tech precision farming services. And we have been working on 2 or 3 high-tech precision farming services, including imagery analytics, soil sensing, and so on and so forth. Now, through this experience that we've had in the last few years, we have 3 key learnings, and I'd like to share this with the group. And I'm sure many of these will resonate. Some of these have already been shared by Amberji, by Madam Bishwas in their own learnings as well. So the first thing is that irrespective of how good we think the technology is, unless we show value to the farmer, and when I say value, I'm talking rupees. I love the way Amberji talked about the money pit. The money is key to the farmer. So unless we're able to say on a per acre basis, this is your tangible benefit, and therefore it is worth doing this, you really don't have an ability to scale. So all roads, in our view, lead to specific value creation for farmers. Now, this has to be demonstrated to farmers. And like many of us, right now, when it comes to drones, what I would love to be able to do is doing that, showing value to the farmers. It's a complex area. There's a it is vision for the regulators. However, it would be wonderful for us to be learning on the ground. And I know there have been different pilots in terms of efficacy and so on and so forth. What I would like to be able to do as a representative of my organization is go out there and show farmers the value in terms of rupees per acre. That is really important. We have to make this a mainstream part of their lives. But if they want to adopt, if they have to adopt, they have to see the value. So show me the money for us is a very, very clear learning from any type of traction building for new technologies. The second thing is that this is a great opportunity for us to, and I've heard this again before in this conversation, build local and go global. So I think it fits in beautifully with the way the government is also looking at growing India's role in the global economy. And the reason it gives us an opportunity to build local and go global is that the solutions we need to crack affordable, they have to be very simple, they have to be adapted to exacting requirements And there are many, many people across the world who would be consumers of solutions that we're able to incubate in India. So I think that a very big opportunity for us to create disruptive solutions for the Indian farmer, because unless we do that, they will not adopt it. And once we've done that, I think there is a global market for many solutions, and many drone-related solutions fall into that category. The third is, this is all about partnerships. I think I heard Amberji mention this as well. I cannot agree more. This is about working with different types of partners. And our experience in the last few years in the various digital technologies that we've worked with have two key groups of partners, and they're both equally important. The first is the technology partners, and these are startups often, and we have invested in 3 of them, who translate cutting edge technologies into farm solutions quickly, frugally. And this is really critical, because without this, you really don't have a product. But that is not enough. We also work with a network of on-ground service providers. So we need an ability to manage the last mile. And these people are critical, because they educate, they influence farmers, they deliver the on-ground services, they actually handhold and make sure that the farmer practices change and get better. And for us, we consider them technology partners too from a go-to-market perspective. So it's important for us to spin this web of partnerships to actually scale on the ground. So to come back to some of the questions that were very specifically posed before I was introduced, I think that there is an opportunity for us to create a new industry which encompasses both manufacturing, because when it comes to drones, there's a huge manufacturing component to it, but also a services component, because you have to deliver these last mile services to farmers. And Madam Bishwas talked about the custom hiring, and Sundram also talked about custom hiring. That's the way forward if we really want to scale this. I think if we're able to get this together and accelerate this, it will definitely power a new wave of economic growth for India. So with that, I'm just coming to the end of my comments. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Ramesh Chandran, in highlighting that how important it is to create the value on the ground. And I would like to, also highlight, you also emphasized on the partnership on the ground, so that, and I think that's the way to go. And I think everyone realized that, farmer needs a lot of things, and it's difficult for one entity or one institution to provide all solutions and services. So I think that's the way to go forward. And I think along the line, you all can create a lot of value, for the farmers. So thank you so much. Now, moving on to the next panelist, Mr. Ankit Mehta, who is co-chair, FICCI Drone Committee, and co-founder and CEO, Idea Force Technology. Ankit, if you can, share that just 2-3 things, that how you do see the key challenges which are being faced in India for commercial deployment. This is number one, not only in crop protection, but also, as I mentioned earlier, on the public health, especially the vector control and the other remote sensing operations. And linking it to that, I'm sure you might be having some global experience that how it is being implemented in few geographies, and what learnings we can take and deploy over here, which suits and meets the the key current challenges. Over to you, Mr. Ankit.
Sure. Thanks a lot, everyone. It's an honor to be a part of this esteemed panel, and thanks to CropLife and FICCI for giving an opportunity to present my views here. What I feel, a couple of things I wanted to share before I move on to the challenges, is that from picking up from where Mr. Ramesh currently ended, is that what I feel very importantly is that on top of bringing value to the farmer, there is a supremely important element, which is of making it a viable commercial opportunity as well. So along with bringing value to the farmer, we have to bring in a lot of focus to also the fact that the technology has to evolve, especially on the spraying side, to a level where the total cost of ownership is positive for the opportunity and the price at which it can become scalable in the region. So a lot of focus, I believe, is required in that side. And I believe that we are almost an order of magnitude away in terms of the present costs of total cost of ownership of this technology on ground. So we need to work really hard in getting it there. Secondly, I also wanted to draw attention to one of the areas that Madam Biswas had spoken about, which is utilization of this technology, of where it may be probably, as I understand from, the math doable, is that be more viable today in terms of commercially being cost positive and, still providing a very high value proposition, is the whole precision agriculture area of, doing a lot of analytics around crop health, analytics around soil topography, and spray efficacy of whatever is happening on ground, ensuring that we have direct impact on when it comes to looking at whether the inputs, whichever way they may have been provided, have been deployed efficaciously or not, or whether the coverage is complete or not. So this is one area which I feel is a very important area for all of us to consider in agriculture, because it may be economically viable to deploy precision agriculture today, whereas adding the layer of spraying is, I believe, at least an order of magnitude away at this point in time. Having said that, one of the challenges that I feel, and a lot of challenges around SOP and those areas have already been highlighted. One of the areas which Shri Ambabe had highlighted in his conversation today was around the whole risk factor of third-party actors in the value chain and the security of equipment and its misuse for a purpose other than spraying at the particular area where it is intended to spray. So I believe that security is the key, one of the areas of concern for the regulators, because of which the sense of fear, given the kind of loads that spraying can carry, is a cause of concern, and therefore I believe that our SOPs, when we work on, will also have to include security, procedures, which ensure that the wrong chemicals are not sprayed, and spraying does not happen on wrong areas. I think therein one of our regulatory regimes in India, particularly, which is the no permissions, no takeoff regime, compliance to that can have a important impact in terms of ensuring that takeoff only doesn't happen if it is not an approved location for takeoff in that one sense, right? So that is one part I believe could mitigate one of the risks. And secondly, there has to be a security SOP that somebody doesn't put a wrong chemical and spray it at the wrong. Those will be important challenges to help mitigate the concerns that the regulators may have with respect to operations. Of course, with right SOPs, as also highlighted in our paper that FICCI and CropLife have jointly released, that a lot of SOP measures around making sure that sufficient distance is maintained from the neighboring farms, and a lot of those things can be implemented on ground to make this more efficacious. Now, from the standpoint of regulations in other parts of the world, one of the key areas that we have highlighted in the report is around how Japan has a really long history of utilizing these systems for spraying, and therefore, in terms of legacy, there is one country that probably has more experience in operationalizing drones for spraying than anybody else. From that, Israel is again a country where this utilization of drones for precision farming for spraying is also enabled. So we may look at countries from the standpoint of regulatory areas that we can look at. However, we must be very, very conscious that India, our sense of risk is very high, simply because of the security concerns and the problems that we may have in our country, which are probably unique to our geography as compared to anywhere else. I think with that, my thoughts on this are very clear, that we should post haste adopt the technology for where it is commercially viable at scale, and deploy it at scale to get the benefits today, and work very, very hard over the next period, while the regulations also are going to evolve, to create the right atmosphere, both commercially and regulatory wise, for deployment for spraying.
Thank you so much, Ankit. And for the respect of the time, I must say that you raised valid questions, but just one additional thought from my side. You talked about the security and the third-party actions, and then also on the neighboring field, what you talked about. I'd like to mention again that the crop protection industry takes stewardship issues very seriously in terms of educating all the people down the line in the entire value chain, be it dealer, be it distributor, be if the individual spray applicators, and with a focus on the farmers. So yes, this is quite valid, and industry is already aware of this and then working in that direction. So thank you so much. Now moving on, now I'd like to invite Dr. Keith Pressman, who is Senior Locust Forecasting Officer with the Food and Agriculture Organization, UNO. And so if you can share from the global perspective, and thank you for acknowledging India's first one to use the drone for control of the locust. And another request is that if you can make quick remarks for 2 to 3 minutes. So over to you, Dr. Keith.
Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. Yes, I will limit my brief remarks to addressing drones and the specific role in desert locust management. So, as we've heard, of course, there's many benefits of drones. It certainly can play a very important role to improve desert locust surveys. And we haven't heard much about surveying. We've been talking about drones and control, but indeed, drones are a very important tool for improving the monitoring. In other words, by extending the area of coverage, that a single survey team can do in one day. FAO has developed customized drones for this purpose, drones that can go out 100 kilometers and map areas in the desert, that are green. Then survey teams can go directly to those areas to check for desert locusts. And again, drones can assist in checking for desert locusts at a particular site. So there's, fabulous potential here. It allows, access to those areas that are very difficult to access, such as, sand dunes that, you really can't get into with ground vehicles. Now, in terms of using drones for control, indeed, a drone represents a new platform for spraying. We have existing platforms. We have, the handheld, the backpack sprayers. We have the vehicle mounted sprayers. And of course, we have aerial spraying by fixed wing and helicopters. So, a drone can add, let's say, to the toolbox of, different options that a national locust program in a country such as India has. Another benefit, of course, is that drones can be used to reach areas that need to be treated that those other platforms cannot easily do. So one example could be the treetops. Swarms often land on treetops. These are very difficult to treat from ground with ground equipment and often too small to treat with aircraft. So here's a good role for drones. Other areas such as sand dunes that I've mentioned, difficult to access on the ground, drones could be used for controlling locust infestations. In addition, one huge benefit of using drones for control is safety. It takes the spraying out of the hands of the pesticide applicator and puts it into, in the hands of a machine, let's say. And as many speakers have already alluded to, drone control certainly can offer more effective and efficient results. Now, having said, the benefits, now I'd really like to raise, some limitations of drones in control. Let's put our feet on the ground a little bit here. And again, I'm talking about desert locust control. Drones are only going to be able to treat small areas, mainly because of the limitations of the battery life and of the payload. The areas to be sprayed with smaller multi-rotor drones are going to be small. So it's only going to be good for smaller targets, small locust hopper bands or small locust swarms. You know, a drone that can carry, let's say, a 10-kilo payload is only going to be able to treat about 10 hectares in about 5 to 10 minutes. But then you have to add the ferry time and the refill and the battery change time. So probably this means that, you know, a drone is able to treat about maybe 30 hectares in 1 hour, or perhaps up to about 100 hectares in 1 day. I mean, these are just estimates, but it gives you the kind of the potential of what a drone can do and what it cannot do. So in other words, when there's an extensive locust outbreak, you know, small drones really do not fit the scale of the problem, because you have to understand, you know, the target here is swarms, and swarms may be tens of square kilometers in size. So this is very difficult to treat, you know, with a drone. You need an army or a swarm of drones, you know, in order to do that. Now, we also have to, again, talk about the expense compared to ground and air platforms. You know, to operate a drone requires a skilled pilot or an operator with support, you know, from vehicles, chemical tanks, battery replacement. And here, of course, with desert locust control, we're always talking about ULV formulation. So ULV sprayers, ground sprayers, you know, they cost a lot less, and they can treat much more in 1 day than a drone can. And of course, they do not require a skilled pilot, but, you know, there is skill that is certainly required. So we have to consider, of course, drones will not replace these platforms. And as I mentioned, they are only supplement, then they offer, you know, additional means of trying to control locust swarms. The other point we have to consider, of course, is that, you know, desert locust control operations are in the desert. So there are desert conditions. And I would be concerned about, you know, the dust and the chemical ingress involved in drone spraying. You know, most small spray drones are not suitable for aggressive, you know, ULV formulations. So you'll need specialized pumps, hoses, and of course the ULV rotary atomizers. And dust and spray, you know, in the desert, which is very prevalent, you know, can be drawn through the rotary sprayers, the rotary blades, and the small electric motors on the rotors are exposed, you know, and very open to the atmosphere. So, you know, there's some technical improvements that will need to be required before drones, you know, can be used under the desert conditions. In addition, you know, operations. Nobody knows how to spray desert locusts effectively and safely with drones. We have to be very cognizant of this, and we have not to fool ourselves. You know, desert locust control is very specific. In terms of using drones, we have no idea how high to fly them above the target or at what speed, and during what speed, wind speed conditions, during other environmental conditions. What technique should be employed? You know, what methodology of spraying? Can this be done at nighttime as well as daytime? You know, these are all questions that need to be resolved before we can use drones safely and effectively for control. India, for the first time this year, is the first country to try using drones in desert locust control. So this is very, very interesting. But, you know, this is a big subject to explore. And the technology, as we heard, is rapidly changing. Yet we need testing and we need evaluation in order to move forward. And so just to conclude and keep the time short, I want to suggest a few ways to move forward. And as we've heard, you know, the Joint Secretary of the Civil Aviation mentioned, you know, we have a grand vision, but we need to take baby steps to reach it. Otherwise, we will miss it. So one point is FAO certainly supports a very robust and pragmatic science-based policy framework for using drones in desert locust management, both survey and control. And we can use the current locust crisis in India to gain experience and learn lessons. And this experience and these lessons learned, they should be used to develop specific guidelines and standard operating procedures on how to use drones in desert locust spraying. And in addition, you know, there are thousands of drones on the market now, but not all of these drones are going to be appropriate for desert locust control. So I would advocate to establish a drone certification program to ensure that the drones that are available and used for desert locust control are technically appropriate, they're safe, and they're effective. So with those few points of the way forward, as well as the benefits and the limitations of drones for desert locust survey, I'd like to hand it back over to the convener, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Dr. King, highlighting the benefits and also some of the challenges. And I'm pretty sure that the usage of drone for locust control will definitely help providing leads on some of these challenges which you highlighted. The good part is that at least well in advance we are aware of these challenges, which will really help to to advance the adoptions in a right manner. Now, moving to the next panelist, Dr. John, can you just share quickly from your global experience that what different best practices adopted in the rest of the world can be deployed here in terms of taking the leapfrog in adoption of drones for the various operations which is just highlighted, like it's whether it's locust control, whether it's spraying aerials, foliar application of crop protection molecules, or maybe it's in the other areas. Dr. John.
Okay. Thank you very much, Rajveer. Are you able to hear me and see me?
Yes, very well.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. First of all, thanks for the introduction. And secondly, it is a privilege to be part of this conference, and thanks to CropLife for allowing me to participate. I believe right now I'm probably representing the AgChem company. You heard Dr. Rupke earlier from Bayer, and so he gave a number of discussion points that incorporated, I think, AgChem comments. But I'll add to some of his comments, plus those that we've heard from the excellent speakers today. I am responsible for a number of our insecticides around the world. Okay, so from an AgChem company point of view, one of our biggest concerns from a drone technology point of view is, can it deliver the attributes of our products? Products that we spent 10 years trying to understand and work and develop. And so the question is, can this new method of application, can it provide the type of results that we have worked hard to develop? And it is a great opportunity, drone technology. There's no doubt about it, and I think you'll see that as a positive comment from essentially most, if not all, the AgChem organizations. We see it as a new method of application, and that's fairly rare. You do not see many new methods of application in one's lifetime, particularly one that is so unique as drones. But as any new method of application, we have to evaluate it. We have to determine what its risks are. We have to try and mitigate those risks. And then we have, working with farmers, working with experts and influencers, we have to integrate that into our existing production and into our crop production systems. So this means labeling. What do we put on our label? What are our recommendations? What are our mitigations? I just have a couple of topics I want to talk on and touch on, and they are specific to pesticide application. And one that we heard an awful lot today about was potential. The potential of this technology is really quite a game changer. Who would have ever thought 3 years ago that China would be spraying 30 million hectares of agriculture, which is what they did in 2019, double of what they did in 18, and that was double of what they did in 2017. So when we talk about the potential of this technology, frankly, it's unknown. It's unknown what this will look like 3 to 5 years from now. It's very critical that we get in now on the ground floor and that we grow with the technology. It's like buying an iPhone. It's like buying a computer. It's like buying a television. Every year there's new models, new innovations. And we've seen that with drones over the past 7 years. The drone technology has improved incredibly over the past 6-7 years. The spray system, though, is still not yet optimal. And this is a concern of us, but it's one that is changing also. And that is we're starting to see innovations within the spray system. Because the spray system is different from the drone system, they need to be integrated. Okay. And when I talk about 3 to 5 years from now, the technology, we're looking at technology changes where there are larger capacity for battery. We're seeing doubling the water capacity. We're seeing drones that have 18 rotors and can carry 100 kilograms. So at one time, we had ruled out large crop application by drones. And as was pointed out by Dr. Cressman, he needs a larger payload in order to spray grasshoppers. I believe in a couple of years, we are going to see larger drones. There's drones out there today that have fixed wings, unmanned application systems that have fixed wing. So we're now getting closer to the manned aerial application fixed wing. Once again, they can carry larger loads. It's great to see that the India government, their goal is to have India as the hub of drone innovation. And when you have such a great objective like that, it also creates motivation. So it's wonderful as we see through this organization, the motivation that exists. The second point I want to talk about is registration requirements. This is absolutely critical because from an ag chem company point of view, from the grower's perspective, there's really 4 items. There's 4 areas that you've heard now a number of times. And this is what the regulators are concerned about. It's residue, it's drift, it's efficacy, and it's safety. They're the 4 topics. And very simply, the country regulators around the world, including India, are just asking the simple question, and that is, are drones worse than manned aerial application on those areas? Residue, drift, efficacy, and safety. And a hypothesis has been made by many country regulators that it is not worse, based on the results from the Japanese, based on a previous research that's been done by certain countries or companies and organizations. And there is now there's data indicating just within the past few years, even this year, and we're going to see it more in the future, there's data indicating that drone application is not worse than manned aerial. Now, the jury's still out. We are still going to continue collecting information. That's why it's critical for India to get into this race, to get into this system as soon as possible so that this country can produce information that can help us make these decisions. But as I pointed out, what's very critical, there is existing data around the world that the Indian organization can use. Okay, and so when we talk about the data with regard to drone application and is it worse or is it worse than manned aerial application, we're finding that some countries have put a stake in the ground. Okay, we talked about Japan. Japan has put a stake in the ground. They've said that they are exempting bioefficacy data, residue data, and drift data. This is quite a milestone and it's absolutely critical. The United States, Australia, New Zealand, they have also exempted bioefficacy and residue and drift data. This isn't to say that they may change their minds within the next year or so as more data develops, but they are making that assumption that drone application is not worse than manned aerial application based in these areas. The United States, for example, they've essentially said if you have manned aerial application on label, you are allowed to use a drone for pesticide application. And if there's a bottleneck in the United States, it's not by EPA, it's not by the Environmental Protection Agency, it's actually by the civil aviation. But as we're looking around the world, we see China also is allowing exempted bioefficacy residue and drift for the time being. We're seeing lots of countries, if you remember Dr. Repke's slide, where he showed all the countries, Malaysia, the Philippines, a number of ASEAN countries, who are being very proactive with regard to advancing this particular technology. Israel was mentioned a number of times. Israel has been very proactive in the use of drones. These are countries that we can learn from. Latin America, interesting area that we would not necessarily expect drone application. We found out just recently that some drone manufacturers have had record selling year. They've had record sales in Latin America, Brazil, Mexico, Argentina. So the drone fire is occurring around the world, and it is satisfying, but it also means that we need to work very hard to keep pace. So it's very critical for countries to keep pace with this technology in order to give their farmers a chance to improve their productivity and also to be able to compete globally. The third topic I want to talk about is more technical, and it's about those small technical details that impact efficacy, spray coverage, and drift. Okay, I mentioned before that the spray system research is still not yet optimized, which is actually quite amazing because the effort or the work, the result that is coming from today's technology is still very good. 30 million hectares of cropland have been sprayed in China. And essentially, you would not get that many hectares sprayed unless growers were acceptive of that technology and it was doing what they expected. And that is with a sub-optimized system. And so there's more work that needs to be done on calibration of spray systems, the use of generic parts. A good example is there's a micron spinning disc. That micron spinning disc just cannot be slapped into any rotor, into any drone. You need to have the appropriate software and the controller. So there's these things that growers or certain spray operations may not be aware of. There's got to be more attention to the actual nozzles. With drone systems, you have lower pressure. And so because of that, the fans, flat fans, will put out a different type of spray pattern. And so all of this impacts deposition. It impacts the spray drift. It impacts coverage. And it's very interesting that when you work with manned aerial applicators, everything is about the drop effect.
Dr. John, sorry to interrupt. Can you conclude in the next 1 minute, please?
You bet. Absolutely. And so, again, there's lots of these small details that are very technical that we need to understand better, and more work needs to be done. And the fourth point that I want to mention and end with is enabling environment. And it's been very interesting to see that the Indian government is actually supporting and enabling this particular technology. We heard Amber say that collaboration was necessary to win. He also said that the government will not stand in the way. This is absolutely critical because we have to be proactive to direct this technology. We have to be able to verify the existing global knowledge that exists, and we need to identify the best fit opportunities. We need to create local experts. And so I think based on what we've heard today, it's very encouraging to see the Indian government is well on that way in enabling the environment of this technology.
Thanks, John, for nicely summarizing, from the global perspective and some of the key recommendations, like what you just highlighted, what needs to be done when it comes to the adoption side of it. And again, thanks for reiterating the collaboration, and we have seen a huge amount of positive receptivity to go in that direction while collaborating and working together. So thank you so much. Dr. Malhotra, are you still there? Before I go to Bhagirath Chaudhary, I just have one more question which we thought to ask Dr. JP Singh, but somehow he's able to join. This is regarding, you may be aware that Ministry of Civil Aviation has released separate draft US guidelines where they have, kept drone out of the aircraft rule 1937. So I think the question is that we need to clearly de-link drone spraying from the aerial spraying, it's more of a foliar, because aerial has a different connotation when it comes to the helicopters and the other bigger equipment. So is there any thought process around it to get it into either the regulation or SOPs, just to say that it is being used as a foliar application rather than an aerial application, because both the things have two different connotations. So any quick remark from your side?
Yes. Mr. Rajbir, yes, this is the relevant point, because here at the moment the permission granted for use of this drone for spray purpose in the locust areas. So this has been done. The permission has been granted so far only for experimentation purpose at the moment. And once the results come, and then final opinion will be made at by the registration committee. So at the moment, some kind of restrictions are always there, because water bodies will also be there. At the moment, we have allowed for desert areas, for controlling this locust in the desert areas only, where we don't have much habitants, and it should be free from, I should say, these water bodies. So some kind of pollution should not be there. So, but now encouraging. So experimental results have started coming now, and at the initial phase, very good results are coming, and results are encouraging. And let us further see that what kind of opinion we could make out of those analyses. And we have also requested the ICR that they need to further conduct the trials also, and they are also taking it on that mode. And they have their all India coordinated research project system. They have through this system they will conduct the trials. And yesterday I discussed with the Deputy Director General. So Deputy Director General also appraised me, Deputy Director General Crop Sciences. He appraised me that they have given this assignment to Indian Agriculture Research Institute. So IARI, so they will take the lead in standardization of the technologies, including these drone technologies, pesticides and others. So here now they have identified the centers. Through those centers, they will conduct the trials, and then they will come out with something. So at this moment, I could share only this information. So because we don't have other details related to this part.
No, thank you so much, Dr. I think it's useful that still there is a work going in that direction, and then the data results are awaited. So thank you so much. Now moving on to Mr. Bhagirath Chaudhary. Bhagirath, can you share your thoughts on different ways in which benefit of the drone technology can quickly harnessed in the public health, food security, and also doubling the farmer income, and especially in relation to smallholder farmers, because you work a lot with the smallholders across India. Bhagirath, over to you. 3.5 minutes.
Thank you, Rajveer. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Thank you. You know, you raised a very pertinent question, but before I actually respond to your query, in this emerging context of drones, I would like to really thank FICCI and CropLife India for inviting me to take part in this very important webinar that we are doing today. Well, you know, after many years of efforts on drones that have not yielded any desirable policy and regulatory outcome in agriculture sector, the recent locust crisis has opened up vast opportunities, as being highlighted by many previous speakers, to showcase the usefulness of drone-based spraying for locust operations. And I have been part of many of these operations in last few days and few weeks, as I operate from the epicenter of locust in Western Rajasthan, based in the border area of Jodhpur and Nagaur belt. Not only the Ministry of Civil Aviation issued this conditional exemption, as alluded by previous speakers, but they also actually really were very prompt to issue addendum to use drone in night, which was actually 6 days after the issues on 27th May, where the operations of locust actually through drones in both night and day was possible. And I also want to appreciate Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare and DPPQ and CIBRC led by Dr. Malhotra, who actually issued these SOPs on aerial spraying using aircraft, helicopter, drone, and for the control of desert locust in first week of June. You know, my organization is a grassroots not-for-profit organization, and we have actually made tremendous effort demanding the approval of drones for locust operation. And we also submitted representations and input to CIBRC to issue the separate SOPs for helicopters and drones, because of the sheer size in the operational parameter of these vastly different spraying machines. And I would like to actually throw quite a bit of different areas of concerns that we actually encountered in the field operations related to these SOPs. Well, I applaud the official from these different ministries who made incredible policy decisions that pave way to explore the potential and usefulness of drone as an additional sprayer. along with other sprayers in the label of approved crop protection chemicals. And most of these drone-based sprayer, that are being done is basically approved by the CIBRC. So, all the time, what I've noted in the field condition is that only the ULV-based sprayer actually spray pesticides are being used to control locust in the desert Rajasthan. Well, Rajveer, over the last 5 years, as you know, we have been advocating for the introduction of new chemistry, biological and botanical and spray techniques, as we have been dealing with infestation of voracious pests such as pink bollworm in cotton in Vidarbha region of Maharashtra, and lots of stories that all the people who connected to today's webinar must be actually reading about what's happening in Vidarbha, and also the incursion of invasive pests such as fall armyworm and the migratory pest locust. In this context, I would like to congratulate Joint Secretary Dubey ji, also Madam Vishwas, Dr. Malhotra ji, and Dr. JP Singh ji, who actually spearheaded the approval of drone-based locust operation, which contributed enormously, I can tell you, in controlling locust in hotspots. And mostly, as Keith said, drones were primarily used to actually control locust when they were in a resting conditions on the top of trees, where we had limitations from the manual sprays. But I would like to also highlight here that the concerns that about the use of drones for reasons other than what actually is meant for is really not tenable, because drone operations actually is being done to comply with the the requirements of VLOS. Those drones can only actually fly in the visual line of sight, and they are not allowed to actually go beyond that region. So I think those concerns that are being raised by Ankit and Dubey ji, that drones can be used for operations other than what is being actually meant for, I think they are not really true, and that should not be really a reason to use drone for augmenting the pesticide spray, botanical spray, and biological spray in agriculture sector. I would like to really communicate to the officials in different ministries that these pestilence pests such as fall armyworm can cause much more damage in agriculture production system, and we have witnessed the tremendous losses of corn production in 2018 season that are much beyond than what we can actually imagine. And fall armyworm has been a very big nuisance for farming community over last 2 years. And this pest actually resemble, and not only resemble, but actually it has a habit that is close to locust, that it feeds. It's a nocturnal pest. It feeds in the night, and operations through manual spray has become very difficult for farmers to control these particular pests. So I feel, on the basis of experience that we had on drones using for locust operation, I think the next step for us to really use this drones technology in invasive pest control, such as fall armyworm, where Dr. Malhotra has also alluded his remarks. Last year alone, Rajveer and others who are on this call, my organization rescued close to 500,000 farmers from the onslaughts of invasive fall armyworm. And as I said, which has become a very big problem, reaching out to almost 11 major maize growing states through a project that is supported by FMC, which is also part of CropLife India member company. But that public-private partnership project really helped us to overcome major problem of fall armyworm in 2019, and to the benefit of all who are connected on this particular webinar today. Last year, because of the operations from the Project Safal, along with the many universities and ICR system, we have been able to really control the invasion of fall armyworm and actually produce record corn production of 28 million tons. As I move forward, I'll take some more time to really come to very specific issues that I feel are important to address. Raju, I need a little more time before.
So Bhagirath, 1.5 minutes more, please.
No. Just need 2 minutes.
Okay.
I just want to highlight very important aspects. I think Dubey is on the call, so it would be very important for him to really hear from the ground reality what's happening. So a couple of areas that I think it's very important if we really want to revolutionize the drone-based application technologies in agriculture. The number one recommendation that I want to submit to the government authorities is that I want to request Ministry of Civil Aviation to simplify the civil aviation requirements of drone operation in agriculture. And I think there is a real call that we want to make to decentralize approval of drone-based operation for agriculture, the operations that are meant for agriculture, where ICR is calling it Kursi drones, to Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare through their system of ICR, KVKs, and create a regulatory oversight called Digital Sky Green Platform. I think the ministries can coordinate, but I think if decentralization can happen with the particular CAR which is enabling, I think that would really revolutionize the use of drone technology in agriculture. The second point that I want to really flag here is that the guideline that ICR has drafted, I think it's a stepping stone for Civil Aviation Ministry to look at that guideline and really modify the CAR so that it can actually enable the application of drone beyond the locust control. I tell you, this year, Dubeji, this particular pest, fall armyworm, is creating huge problem for farming community. And any kind of spray in the day actually doesn't kill this particular pest. So we need to really mobilize this drone technology to control this kind of pest. And simplification, enabling, and decentralizing this regulation is very, very critical to achieve the desirable objective. The one more point that I want to highlight, I have a couple of more points, but one important point that I want to highlight is that in the on 1st December 2018 guideline by DCGA, there is a particular section called 26 of RAPS, which states that the drone is not permitted to discharge or drop substances unless that has been specifically permitted by DCGA, and such permission is mentioned in UA OP12. There's some clause there. Now here I want to really make a call to the Ministry of Civil Aviation through Dr. Malhotra ji and Ministry of Agriculture that all the approved pesticide, the pesticide that are being approved by CIBRC, they are being approved after a rigorous risk assessment has been done. So if we are using those pesticides which are approved for the dose, crops, and the duration, in that case, this particular clause should not apply. Otherwise, you will not be able to actually undertake any of the spray without the approval of MOCA, and which is really not doable in case of the agriculture operations, where actually you need to fly drones every 10 minutes or 20 minutes or 15 minutes to actually spray these pesticide in different part of a field. The last point, Rajveer, that I want to highlight here is that there's a SOP approved by Ministry of Agriculture and through CIBRC. I think this particular SOP, Dr. Malhotra ji, I want to refer this particular SOP to you. We have submitted a very extensive changes that are required in these SOPs. These SOPs are actually almost verbatim from the SOPs that are actually being issued by FAO for aerial spraying through helicopters. And therefore, I would request you to really come out with SOPs that are very specific to drone and not actually link it to the SOPs that are required for aerial spraying through the helicopters. These are some of the points that I thought I would like to highlight, and there are other points, Rajveer, that I have which I would share with you guys and also with the ministry so that the appropriate action can be taken. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thanks, Bhagirath, for providing useful and comprehensive, feedback and your experience while working with smallholders. You mentioned about fall armyworm and also the suggestions specific to drone and how it can be taken forward. So thank you so much. So we appreciate that. Sumit, I know that we are already 30 minutes late for the program, but if you agree, probably I can take 5 to 6 minutes more by requesting 3 special invitees for take 2 minutes each. And especially, I would like to begin with Dr. Manjeet Singh to have the state perspective. I think that will be really helpful. Dr. Manjeet Singh, if you are able to hear, so quickly, just for 2 minutes, if you can provide the state perspective on this. Over to you, sir. Dr. Manjeet Singh. Dr. Manjeet, we are not able to hear you.
Manjeet ji, you have to unmute.
I think there is some audio issue, so maybe I can.
No, he has unmuted. He is just coming online.
Okay.
Oh, but it's not.
I don't know what is the issue.
Yeah, sir, we can hear you. Please go ahead. We can see you and we can hear you, sir.
Hello.
Sir, you're audible. Please go ahead. You're audible, sir.
I want to share for a few minutes the experience which we have gained in this technology. So from last one year, we are collecting data for different crops. Like we have started working on cotton and then wheat and then this rice also. So for each crop, I want to add some this advantage of this technology. As for the cotton crop, there is especially this white fly attack is there. So to control that white fly, because this resides at the bottom of the canopy as well as underside of the leaves. So this technology is very good as there is air this push of this spray. So due to that push, this spray coming at the bottom of the canopy as well as underside of the leaves. So that is a very effective control on this cotton crop. And for the wheat crop, this is good for the weedicide spray. We have collected data, so this is good for the weedicide spray also. And for rice crop, as because this is submerged field, there is a lot of water in the crop. So then this technology is also very good for the rice crop. So this is our experience in this using this technology. And some issues, very pertinent issues. First is that as this already discussed, lithium polymer battery. So this is having very lesser endurance time. So this we have to do some research or we have to get technology from different countries that how this endurance time of this battery can be increased so that there is effective use of this technology, or our IITs can be also used for this researching this area. So this is first issue. Then nozzles, as ULV nozzles are already available, so we are using ULV nozzles. But anti-drift nozzles are also available in some countries, so we have to use those anti-drift nozzles for this drone. And then as their spare parts and this repair and maintenance, so all this I think startups are coming slowly, and they will take care of this part. And last my this is that as now policy and guidelines have been framed by under the chairmanship of DDG Engineering. So how those have to be implemented actually in the field. So we have to think of that. And being in a university or in research organizations, so we have to give this some freedom to conduct these research and trials using this technology for the different crops, especially for the orchards. We can start from the orchards. So this I want to share. Thank you.
Sumit, can I just Sumit, hi, this is Ambat over here. Can I just step in for 10 seconds?
Yes, sir, please.
Yes, sir. First of all, congratulations to Mr. Manjeet Singh for all the great work he's doing. Just I want to respond to that one point about the endurance. Sumit, I would request you to just share that film that the drone entrepreneurs have produced on the journey of the drone industry. And there you see there's a beautiful clip on Anna University's petrol engine driven drone. So that has an endurance of 45 minutes instead of 15 to 20 minutes that most of the other drones have. And this is one way that we can address this huge challenge that we are facing from our northern neighbor. Okay, and please support that. That drone is actually working in Rajasthan for locust control. The results are fantastic. In fact, now the Agri Ministry is coming up, has come up with a new tender wherein a separate category has been created for engine-driven drones. So these are petrol engine-driven drones where the power source is actually going along with the drone up there, and it's producing the electricity which is driving the motor and the propeller. So this is giving almost 45 minutes of endurance. Just thought I'll share that with you. Thank you so much, and all the best, Mr. Manjeet Singh.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I'll share that film with all the participants. Thanks.
So thanks, Mr. Dubey, for bringing the notice of everyone. Thank you. Ms. Siangi, if you are there, quickly 2 minutes from the regional perspective.
Thank you. Thank you, Rajveer, for the opportunity to let me have the opportunity to speak for a couple of minutes. I just want to clarify some of the discussion here. First and foremost, the newer generation of drone right now flies up to 30 minutes per charge on a single battery. And there are a whole lot of battery packs that can be brought to the field with super cooling that can allow simultaneous change of batteries. And then the current drones, one single controller can fly 4 drones. So again, you have the field efficiency. It's no longer a single drone control. Again, to the secretary, I can send you the videos of where the drones are being controlled by one single person controlling multiple drones. That's number one. Number two, farmers are at our heart. That is a core where we exist and why we want to develop technology. But not to forget, India is a very big country. There are different sizes of agriculture, some commercial, some semi-commercial, and subsistence farmers. So we should let the technology grow with the people who can adopt the technology, meaning the commercial people who can put in the drone flyers. That is where we want to have the drone flyers, the professional who knows what to spray, how to control the drone, and be able to apply safely across the farm that we are using. And with that, in China, it suddenly grew up into a new industry where service provider from graduates who went into agriculture to provide a service, even down to the retailers that are providing suppliers drone service to the farmers. So it creates a different industry. That is where India's startup community can come in. I think just now our speaker just mentioned about that also. So there is tremendous opportunity. Then go with the large scale, the semi-large scale. Then in the timeline, let's nurture and reduce the risk by training the smallholders with the local community, with the KBK Baramatis and etc., to hold the hand of the small farmers so that they can benefit, whether it's rental, drone, etc. But let's have the regulation that allows India agriculture to benefit from the technology and not to fall behind. So India and China in terms of agriculture scale is almost the same. It's 0.5 hectares per farm. So there's great opportunity that you can learn from other countries. John Beyond has tackled about the spray drift, the regulation. I'm not going to go on that. The other piece I want to also reassure the government is that drone has one of the highest safety features built in. There is a GPS locked in. There is, every time before you fly the drone, you have to relocate the GPS. There is drone protection, drone protection, no-fly zone. Everything is inbuilt. Of course, that's where we try to prevent the unscrupulous use of the drone differently, but under good condition with the drone flyers, these are all protected that we don't have any unwanted incident while using the facility. So across the region, many countries have very similar crop protection regulation for the use of drone in terms of whether it's MRL, whether it's in terms of drift, etc., where John and again Beyond has articulated clearly. So those are the few things that we are able to build a new industry to bring India's agriculture to the next step while having the small farmers community at hand so that we can move together. Thank you, Rashid. That's the 2 minutes.
Thanks, Yandy, for highlighting those additional things, especially on the flight time. I think that's pretty clear. Now, I'm just requesting, last but not the least, one Mr. R.J. Agrawal, who is Chairman Dhanuka and also the Chairman of Agrochemical Subcommittee on FICCI. With my humble request, with folded hand, is to say in 2 minutes, because we are already 40 minutes over the time. Mr. Agrawal, over to you. And then 2 minutes, please.
Thank you, Rajvi. We have listened so many things from technical experts. I'll discuss in my 2 minutes just commercial aspect. You see, our farmers are interested and concerned how their income can be increased. And this technology of great help in reducing their cost of operation and increasing their profit. For example, I showed that China agriculture area is less than us, their rainfall is less than us. But in spite of all this, their GDP of agriculture is 3 times in comparison to our country. And one of the region which I foresee for this less GDP in our country is non-availability of
Dr. Manjeet Singh, can you please mute your audio? Thank you. Yes, Mr. Agarwal, go ahead.
So the biggest problem is the latest technology which is available either in the field of crop protection chemicals or an identification of soil deficiencies or use of nutrients or use of stimulants, is irrigation. We still use flood irrigation. If we use science-based this technology and which can be driven by drones, and my humble request will be to Mr. Dubey, Ambar Dubey, who has been very, very cooperative. Now, News Joint Secretary, Mrs. Vishwas, how fast we can finalize the guidelines, and similarly request to Dr. Malhotra, how fast we can finalize the issues related to CIB and the pesticides which are already approved for use on particular crops. If we go there by adopting new generation of data, then it will be taking long time. And whatever data is available, on the basis of same data, if we should allow the use of drones, and these drones can be brought by some, commercial companies like crop protection chemical companies or seed companies or FPOs or KVKs, whatever way government want to support. But yes, training is the most important part, and one suggestion came from IITs. We have large number of IITs, and even private sector industry can also provide the training. So how fast we bring the new technology and make it available to our farmers? So the vision given by Honorable Prime Minister of doubling the farmers' income by 2022 and making India a $5 trillion economy by 2025 can be achieved. Thank you very much, FICCI and CLI, for organizing and giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Agarwal. Truly appreciate it on your suggestions, both on the commercial side and also on the regulation side of it. Thank you so much. Just before conclude, I would like to take a few minutes and want to conclude this session in 2 sentences. The number one is we have seen in the previous session and this panel discussion, I think there is a clear-cut convergence of willingness to work towards that, how we can make drone reality while addressing all safety concerns, regulatory stewardship issues. So that's really the good part, that overall there is a convergence of thought process and the willingness to move forward. The other is I would like to thank every panelist who has really provided straightforward, the perspective on what are the issues and topic need to be addressed in a collaborative manner. And I also like to thank Mr. Amber Dubey for staying until the conclusion of this workshop. So, Mr. Dubey, we truly appreciate it. So, over to you, Mr. Raju Kapoor, for conclusion, summing up and a word of thanks. Over to you, Mr. Raju Kapoor.
So thank you so much, Rajveer. I think this has been an exhilarating day. And who better to kick it off than Mr. Amber Dubey? I think the kind of energy that he puts in all of us is phenomenal. So, okay, all right. So let me just quickly say, here is an opportunity for all of us in India to build a new industry altogether. And this is, I think, like somebody said, this is you get this once in a few decades that you get an opportunity of this magnitude of this kind. So the key ask for us, right from the Prime Minister downwards, is how do we take agriculture to the next level? We have these key issues mainly around sustainability of agriculture. You know, the issues around natural resource utilization, the issues around how do we reduce the impact of agriculture on environment or on the rest of the users of the agriculture system. So I think that's one place where this drone technology fits in absolutely and bang on. You know, we saw very clearly and that three key asks that we have from especially the crop protection industry is precision. It's about efficacy, and it is about safety. I think Dr. Biog brought this out very, very vividly, and we have this clearly captured that this is one technology that will deliver us that. I would say that today's deliberations, one of the challenge that we all need to take is the vision that Mr. Dubey gave of targeting at least 1 lakh villages over the next, let's say, 4 years or so. If we can have that as a vision to move forward and make sure that it reaches the technology reaches the last mile. It should not remain a demonstrative technology. It should be a transformative technology. Your suggestion, Mr. Dubey, about affordability, I think that's what a very critical one, because somewhere if we can link the new FPOs to the drone technology. So can FPOs be the hub through which drone can take the technology down to the farmers, so that you have farmers controlling the technology itself? So, I mean, those are very interesting ideas that can be looked at. Other issue which clearly has emerged out of this entire proceeding is that there is a tremendous benefit that will come to agriculture and to the farmers. You know, almost like a 30-time efficiency increasement, or the water use reduction, or the reduction in the exposure to the users or to rest of the environment. Those are very critical elements. What is important is that this technology is going to grow very, very fast. So the challenge will be between technology and regulation. So which will grow faster? In my opinion, technology is going to grow much faster compared to regulation. So what do, as regulators, what should we be doing? Should we wait for the things to be perfect and then move forward? Or can we be agile enough to learn as we go? I think the second model is what is very critical, because you can't be a laggard in this technology. You have to learn on the run and keep amending yourself. So I think that's one big role that comes up. How do we create a dynamic regulatory environment and an enabling regulatory environment? You cannot control technology, very sure. I mean, IT has shown us the moment you try and control it, it is not yours. So similarly, drone technology or a precision agriculture, if you want to control it through the government, is going to go out of our reach completely. So how do we make that happen? That's very critical. So how to grow with the experience. And I think pooling of the experience is very critical, and leveraging experiences globally. Should we reinvent the wheel, or there are multiple learnings available globally? How do we leverage those knowledge for us in India? I see a tremendous employment generation capability in this industry, right down to village. If we have this 1 lakh village target, and let's say if we can put something like a 20 people in a village employed directly, and let's say indirectly through the drone manufacturers or the pesticide companies or the extension educations or the certifiers, etc., I see that it has a tremendous multiplier impact on the employment generation. So that thought should not be lost on everyone. And key challenge, as we have already identified, is about how do we develop this battery management system? I have seen I've seen this Anna University model. It's a great model, but can we look at, we have these example of Teslas and everybody. We are already moving in the electric mobility. So can we learn from that into this game and create a much viable option which does not load our rural areas with a lot of what we call as a repair and maintenance industry should not be there. I think we can look at how do we build on this one. This has to be a common agenda, both for the government as well as for rest of the people. Training is one major area because a large number of people will have to be trained. This is a very critical area. So after regulation, training is something that kind of comes on top of my mind, and how do we train the people? So I think the training infrastructure, the protocol, the modules, and execution of that, capturing that at the grassroots levels and saying, okay, here is the certificate. So the certification process has to be rather robust, and it needs to be a continuous evaluation of the pilots. Similarly, I think one of the questions which has been marked clearly is what kind of formulations will go. I think we saw from Dr. Byok's presentation that in their trials of the 55 trials they have done in China, they have clearly seen that almost 70 to 80% of the formulation, same formulation, have been adapted to be used through drones. So, the insistence on moving for a new formulation type, because the moment you go for a new formulation type, you will talk of all the related data, and I think you're talking 3 years time lag. So that is something which is a challenge. What is also very interesting is this, for how do we create this partnership model that we're talking about? I think the corporates and the startups, how do we bring them together? How do they come together on executing? Not all of them can do at all places. So maybe, if we can develop those centers of excellence and a learning system which keeps throwing back the learnings to some central system, which then disseminates it across the country, that could be a very interesting area. With this, I think I would not take much time. There is a great, I think I heard Dr. Malhotra also talk about, how a CRIP system and the other systems can evolve themselves to adapt to this need of faster data generation and pushing the data back to it. I think John Eldor very clearly demonstrated how countries like China have moved straight away 30 million hectares in 3 years time flat. So what can we learn from them? What can we learn from their system and bring it in? That's very important. The application related equipments, the nozzles that we talk about. So how do we maintain the effectiveness of the molecule? The same way as we had planned it, as we had evolved it, how do we translate that down to farmers' field? It's very important. So I think with this, let me just use this opportunity to thank, first of all, Mr. Amber Dubey, Dr. S.K. Malhotra for being very candid and very supportive, Madam Samitra Viswas for putting up a new vision, Dr. Alaga Sundaram. He has been a champion himself. So thank you so much, Dr. Byok, Mr. Rajan Luthra for being what we call as a drone warrior. Then we have Dr. John himself. I think he's a great knowledge, and thank you, John, for sparing so much of time for India. We are learning a lot from it. I would also take a lot of learning that Dr. Keith Chrisman has given for us for drone, especially on the locust. So how do we incorporate that knowledge will be one area that we need to work on. Thank you so much, Ankit. I think you are one of those fountainheads that we need to learn a lot from. Mr. Ramesh Ramachandran, I think that's a very interesting model that you're suggesting, collaborative model. So maybe we can possibly take this further as a this one. We also have Dr. Mr. Rajendra here, from CropLife, Mr. Sanjeev Lal, Mr. R.J. Agrawal, Mr. Chiang Hee from CropLife Asia. Bhagirath, thank you so much for bringing in the raw inputs into the discussion. This is right from the field, the hot ones. Thank you so much. Dr. Manjeet Singh, I think you sharing this knowledge is very important because it opens out the opportunity metrics. So with this, let me also give a big round of thanks to all those who made this possible. This has been a tremendous amount of effort. I think there has been a lot of effort put in, led by Rajveer, the whole team, Sitava, and then we call it a crack team from CropLife. We had Joydeep there, Sangeeta, R. Vidyanathan, Yuvraj. They have burned many nights midnight. So thank you, each one of you, a great deal. From a FICCI side, I think this is truly called private partnership. So I think thank you so much for taking it to this next level. With this, let me just hand this back to the organizer. And let me also, last but not the least, all the 550 participants, I think this must have been a very enriching experience for you. We need to now learn from all of you. So maybe it's important that you attended, and I'm very sure you would have gained out of this. So thank you so very much. So back to FICCI and back to the control room.
Yeah, Sumit, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Kapoor, and thanks, Mr. Rathi, for moderating that very interesting panel. And with this, we come to the conclusion of this very, very interesting webinar. And as was mentioned in the beginning, in the initial session, this is just sort of a beginning, and the discussion paper which we have released will be shared through email, though it is already live on the website. One can download, but we'll be sharing it with the email as well, through the email as well. And please feel free to share your comments, your inputs, your advice. We will be looking into that and creating a report, a final report out of that, and submitting it to different departments of the government at MOCA, at Agriculture Ministry, and other relevant government departments. And we really look forward to strengthening this partnership between FICCI and CropLife going forward. And my personal thanks to you, Asitava. Thanks for leading, and to you, Mr. Rajveer Rathi, as well. With that note, thank you, everybody, and have a great day.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. All the best.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.